At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 801 Ice Sea Monster. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month has passed. The sailing time far exceeded expectations, which made Zhang Yi even a little depressed. Sailing is a very boring thing, being trapped on a rocking icebreaker, facing the same people and scenes every day. Although when I was in the shelter, it was pretty much the same. But there is a sense of solidity on land, and he can often go out for a walk. But on the ice sea, it is impossible to leave the ship. It's not like Zhang Yi couldn't land when passing by land. However, given his steady character, this approach was obviously inappropriate. Firstly, there was no need for any supplies on the ship, and the resources at his disposal were sufficient. Secondly, there are few supplies available on the land, but it is full of gangs and pirates. While passing through several small countries, the Jinfeng experienced another robbery incident, and Zhang Yi's approach was also very decisive, eradicating the root cause. Basically, none of the pirates or land gangs he met survived. However, one thing is more troublesome. Their ship has always been exposed to the view of the Colombian ocean-going forces. After all, as the world's leading naval power, Colombia's satellite surveillance system is no less than Huaxu's nebula. Moreover, Zhang Yi and others did not use military shielding equipment in order not to alert others. This makes their whereabouts particularly obvious. ZHU Zheng discussed this with Zhang Yi and ZHU Yang. Since their banner is to evacuate overseas Chinese, there is no need to be secretive. After all, the core content of the mission is a secret in the hands of someone. Moreover, Colombia's oceanic navy does not lack supplies, and their own sons will ensure their supplies. Therefore, there is basically no need to worry about the Colombian Ocean Force taking action against Zhang Yi and the others. See voyage number 39 days. Zhang Yi and the others encountered an extremely strange sight at sea. On this day, Zhang Yi was discussing calligraphy with Zhao Keller in the cabin. Zhang Yi personally likes cursive writing more and often uses it to cultivate his sentiments. Suddenly, the ship's hull shook violently, and for a long time, Lao Shan came over urgently and banged on the door with bang bang bang. The urgency was unprecedented. Seeing this, Zhang Yi had no choice but to clean the desk hastily, let Zhao Keller tidy up his clothes, and then went over to open the door for Lao Shan. "What's going on? You're in a panic. What do you look like?" Zhang Yi frowned and said. But Lao Shan and the two sailors behind him said to Zhang Yi with frightened faces, "Mr. Zhang, we encountered a sea monster." Zhang Yi and Zhao Keller said in surprise, "Sea monster? The day has finally come." From the moment they went out to sea, Zhang Yi and Zhao Keller imagined that they would encounter sea monsters in the ocean. There is some worry, but there is also some expectation in it. When they were offshore, they once encountered a mutated whale, but the whale was just huge and did not show too much destructive power. Zhang Yi analyzed that it may have been driven from the deep sea area to the offshore area. It is precisely because of the emergence of a real overlord in the deep sea that it is afraid of being turned into food and flees to less dangerous offshore waters. But it never expected that it would not die in the hands of sea creatures, but in the hands of full-egged beasts on land. Sometimes, the person who kills you may not be your peers, but someone who is playing cross-border. Zhang Yi came back to his senses, pressed his right hand on the bracelet on his wrist, and the black battle suit was automatically put on his body. "Wait for me a moment." He closed the door and began to take out his combat uniform and put it on. And Zhao Keller was not idle either, and also started to change clothes. The combat uniforms of the investigation team were exchanged by Zhang Yi. He rescued ZHU Zheng and drove away the Samsara team. The huge points he obtained were used to exchange for high-tech weapons. At least everyone in the family has their own routine, including Aunt Zhao Heimei, who only cooks at home all day long and helps Uncle Yu relieve stress. After Zhang Yi was fully dressed, he opened the door and came to the deck with Zhao Keller. The Jinfeng was shaking so hard that all sailors on the deck had to tie safety ropes around their waists. There was a violent storm outside, and everything in front of me was grey, and my vision was blurred. At the far end of the sea, the waves were rolling, as if something huge was tumbling, and terrifying roars could be heard from time to time, like deep sea gods coming from ancient times. Zhu Young blocked the exit of the cabin, looking scared but also wanting to watch the fun. Zhang Yi pulled her aside and said, "You two stay here, and don't run out. Be careful of being knocked over by the waves, and thrown into the sea." Zhu Young felt a little moved in his heart. Zhang Yi actually cared about her. But in fact, Zhang Yi just felt that if she died, it would be difficult to explain to Zhu Zeng. The deck was too shaken, so Zhang Yi directly activated Two Worlds Absolute Knot and air control technique, letting his body float above the golden front. Now, he could finally see the full picture of the sea monster that Lao Shan mentioned. About 20 nautical miles away from the Jinfeng, the sea water has been dyed into a large area of blood. It was not a sea monster, but many heads. Literally, Zhang Yi saw many heads. Otherwise, he would not be able to determine the number of sea monsters. In the icy blue ocean, the sea monsters are so huge that by looking closely, you can tell that they are all 50 meters up. Zhang Yi continued to fly, trying to see more clearly. After he flew thousands of meters high, he finally saw it clearly. 1, 2, 5. There are 5 sea monsters in total. 4 huge sharks are besieging a monster that looks like a sea snake or more eel. Those sharks have also undergone mutation. I wonder if they have lived in neon, so they look particularly ferocious and twisted. One shark had a head full of eyes, and some had 2 heads. Zhang Yi even saw a shark growing arms that looked like humans. They madly bit the giant sea snake in front of them. The reason why it is called a sea snake is because it has a long and narrow body that is more than 100 meters long and is covered with black scales. It just has a huge sharp horn on its head and hundreds of black protrusions on its back that are bigger than a shark's dorsal fin. The huge body rises and falls on the sea like a continuous hill. It is huge and terrifying. While facing the siege of 4 mutated sharks, its head was raised high from the water. Its body kept sweeping. A large number of scales fell into the sea, and the blood stained the sea area for more than 10 kilometers red. Its huge sharp angle suddenly emitted a strong purple light, and finally it sprayed out a beam of light that swept towards the 4 sharks around it. Immediately, a shark was directly pierced by this beam of light. It screamed miserably, and then sank to the bottom of the sea. Chapter 802. Don't get involved. The battle between sea monsters made Zhang Yi terrified. The shark tore into the body of the sea snake fiercely. The body of the sea snake was very long, and the bite scars were everywhere, exposing the bones inside. But it is equally terrifying. After killing a shark with the laser on its head, the huge head tilts back hard, and then stabs into the back of the shark. Like a knife cutting pork, a poof sound seemed to open a waterfall of blood, and shark blood poured out all over the sky. Zhang Yi couldn't help but swallow his saliva. After he came to his senses, he immediately returned to the deck. "March with all your strength and leave this area," Zhang Yi said to Lao Shan. That sea monster was so terrifying, completely incomparable to the mutant whales Zhang Yi had encountered before. Speaking of those 4 sharks alone, their size and destructive power were frightening, probably even greater than the captain of the Sky Dragon pirates, Canute, whom he had encountered before. If the sea monsters discovered their ship and attacked, it would be a big trouble for Zhang Yi. After hearing this, Lao Shan also knew that the situation was very dangerous, and he quickly shouted and ordered the crew to use full power and set off in the opposite direction of the sea monster. The Jinfeng was far away from this sea area, but the roar of sea monsters could be heard from time to time in their ears. Zhang Yi even turned around and saw thunder falling from the sky, striking the sea area. 10 minutes later, the ship sailed dozens of nautical miles, and everything around it returned to calm. But Zhang Yi always felt that the air was filled with the smell of blood. It's a thrilling battle. The dangers in the depths of the ocean are much more terrifying than those on land. Zhang Yi stood on the deck with such emotion in his heart. "Something's wrong, boss. Something's very wrong." Lao Shan suddenly said to Zhang Yi. "Huh? What's wrong?" Zhang Yi asked. Lao Shan lowered his head and looked at the sea. The water was bright red and stained with blood. Marine life is extremely sensitive to the smell of blood. Logically speaking, the smell of blood here is so strong that there should be schools of fish gathering here. But why don't you see a single fish around here? When Zhang Yi heard this, an idea came to his mind. At the same time, his passive ability, Time Echo, was activated. Time Echo, one of Zhang Yi's abilities that he awakened after absorbing Jin Phoenix, Mayumi Takuchi and Canute. Time-based abilities, passive skills. When Zhang Yi was about to be attacked, he gave advance warning under. Zhang Yi looked at her feet, or below the sea surface to be exact, and the feeling of being targeted by a ferocious beast instantly hit her heart. Without hesitation, Zhang Yi added the ability to control the air to the entire ship, and then opened a dimensional door under the hull. Boom. Shortly after he completed this operation, the water in the surrounding sea suddenly started to rotate crazily. If you look down from a high altitude, you can see that a huge vortex began to form with the area where the Jimpfeng is located as a center. It is a vortex with a radius of several thousand meters, and deep in the whirlpool, huge black dorsal fins were looming among the crests of the waves. It's that sea serpent. Zhang Yi recognized it. It was the giant sea snake that had just killed 4 mutated sharks. Unexpectedly, it noticed the humans in this direction and chased after them. Perhaps, it discovered Zhang Yi, a unique human being. Zhang Yi raised the Jinfeng and lay on the railing looking at the deep sea. The sea snake's huge eyes were blood red and stared at him. Sure enough, it came for Zhang Yi. The blood-colored pupils are full of blood and killing. Zhang Yi can be sure that its eyes are twice as big as Zhang Yi's entire body. Although he didn't know whether it could understand human speech, Zhang Yi still used the loudspeaker to shout, "We are not your enemies, we are just passing by." The sea monster ignored Zhang Yi's explanation at all. It emerged from the ocean, pointed its huge sharp horn at Zhang Yi, and then shot out a purple light. Zhang Yi's pupils shrank, and he immediately opened the second dimensional door in front of him. A steady stream of lasers shot into the dimensional gate and stopped after half a minute. The intensity of this energy is very high, and the pressure it brings to Zhang Yi is definitely no less than that of a captain-level alien. And in the ocean, its home field, it may even destroy a survey team. If it were not Zhang Yi who appeared here today, but Deng Shentang or Bian Junwu, it would almost be a certain death. Because the sea monster only needs to destroy their ship to slaughter them at will. No wonder ZHU Zheng insisted on letting me do this task. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. They call me absolute defense. The sea monster's attack didn't work, which made it become more vigilant. However, the huge body is still hovering in the ocean, and the pressure brought by that huge body that is constantly squirming is indescribable. But Zhang Yi was also angry. I didn't provoke you. Why are you pretending to me? Full counterattack. He redirected the laser that entered and returned it intact. At this moment, watching his attack being bounced back, a blank look appeared in the sea monster's eyes. However, it also realized the power of its own attack. After a great battle, its body was covered in scars, and when it was hit by a laser on its torso, it immediately let out an extremely terrifying roar. Scales and flesh were everywhere, and you could even see the blackened bones inside. As for Zhang Yi's right hand, the power of the void has begun to condense, preparing to turn it into a fatal blow, to completely take away its life. The sea monster finally realized that the man in front of him was powerful enough to kill it. It roared angrily, plunged its head into the water without hesitation, and swam towards the deep sea. Spear of the void. The unstable dark matter was condensed and extended into a spear more than 2 meters long. Precision shooting. Many after images appeared in Zhang Yi's eyes, and eventually these after images gradually merged into one. It turns out that the ability to shoot accurately is Zhang Yi's earliest time power, which can also be said to be the prototype of Time Echo. It can predict the trajectory of the opponent's actions, and after being locked by the echo of time, there is no escape. The spear of the void came out of its hand and submerged into the sea. On the route it traveled, the seawater split open, as if it encountered a natural enemy. Millions of tons of seawater gave it way, to make way for a cylindrical channel, and it went straight after the sea monster. Boom. A moment later, the seawater surged into the huge channel, drowning everything. But soon, bright red and even dark blood rolled out from underneath. Zhang Yi frowned. Since he improved his strength, the power of the void spear has also been greatly improved. For example, it can complete the transformation from face to point killing. But even so, it is unknown whether such a super large sea monster can be killed with one blow. After all, this is the ocean, and its territory is impossible for Zhang Yi to pursue. Get away from me, otherwise, I will definitely kill you next time. Chapter 803 Rockflow Island. The sea surface returned to calm, but the blood stained the surrounding sea area for dozens of miles, which looked extremely terrifying and strange. On Laoshan's side, the radar showed that there were no large creatures nearby. Zhang Yi asked, "How far is it from Yanliu Island?" Laoshan replied, "There are still more than 1,000 nautical miles. At the current speed, we can reach the destination in 3 days. Always have someone under observation in the radar room. It's possible that the sea monster is not dead," Zhang Yi reminded. Laoshan couldn't help but swallowed. If you are targeted by such a monster, you will have to be wary every day while sailing on the sea. Seeing his panicked look, Zhang Yi said calmly, "It was seriously injured. It must be looking for a place to heal now. It is unlikely to harass us again in a short time. We'll leave here as soon as we pick them up. The return speed should be faster than when we came. As long as we return to land, we don't need to worry about sea monsters." Laoshan nodded in agreement and went back to the helm. Zhang Yi returned to the cabin, and Zhu Yang ran over and asked, "How is that sea monster? Was it killed?" Zhang Yi said, "He was seriously injured and hid in the deep sea. It will not affect us for the time being." Zhu Yang looked worried. "You're not dead. What if we are targeted in the future?" Zhang Yixin said, "How the hell do I know? Let's talk about it then. Anyway, the worst case scenario is that the ship is destroyed and he can escape with Zhao Keita. As for the others, all I can say is do your best. Of course, the likelihood of this happening is relatively low. As long as he is here, the probability of this monster trying to destroy the Jimpfeng is approximately 0. We'll reach Ganliu Island in about 3 days." Zhang Yi said to Zhu Yang, "Contact the people over there." Zhu Yang's eyes slowly lit up. "We can finally go ashore." After more than a month at sea, she was almost exhausted. The corners of her mouth were raised, and a look of pride appeared on her face. Zhu Zeng placed the communication channel with the people of Yanliu Island in her hands. Perhaps Zhu Zeng was worried that Zhang Yi would completely ignore Zhu Yang. "Okay, come to my room and we'll slowly communicate with the people there." She looked at Zhang Yi's face with a smile. Casual. Zhang Yi didn't take it seriously and followed her to her room. Zhu Yang's room was well furnished and was considered the first-class cabin on the entire ship, second only to Zhang Yi and Zhao Keita's. Zhang Yi sat directly on the chair after entering the room. Zhu Yang reached out and took out a box from the closet. It was her communication device. She unfolded the instrument on the floor and began to contact people on Ganliu Island. This process is somewhat lengthy. Zhu Yang tried several times, but did not get any response. Zhang Yi frowned. "What's going on? Is there an accident?" They sailed on the sea for more than a month. In the end of the world, this time is enough to change many things. It's possible that those on Ganliu Island are already dead. Zhu Yang frowned slightly. "I'll try again." She didn't give up, and she looked quite focused when she was working. After a few minutes, the communicator picked up the signal. "Have it." Her eyes lit up. "Hello, are you Snow Wolf?" Snow Wolf is the code name of the person on Yanliu Island. It's not that Jiangnan district doesn't know his information, but using code names when communicating can avoid being monitored. Zhang Yi walked over and listened to the voice on the other end. It was the voice of a young man, full of fatigue, nervousness, and excitement. "I'm Zulang. Is this my hometown? Are you here? It's very dangerous here. More than half of our team has died. We can't hold on any longer." Zhu Yang said calmly, "Don't be nervous. We will arrive in about 3 days." Zhu Yang said, while operating the instrument in his hand. This set of instruments is connected to the nebula system and can directly observe the entire Yanliu Island. Zhu Yang is choosing a suitable landing place. "Where are you now?" "We will land in an area close to you. In the northwest direction, there is." The voice hesitated and continued. "There is a cliff, and below it is a secret cave. We are there." Zhu Yang left and zoomed in on the map of that area. The surrounding area of Yanliu Island is covered by a layer of white ice, which also makes it possible to walk over some originally steep cliffs. The place where Snow Wolf and the others hide is at the bottom of a cliff. It is really difficult to find them without looking at the satellite map. Zhang Yi leaned over and asked, "Is there any danger on the island?" Zhulang said in a weak voice, "There are many people on the island, not just us. There are aborigines and those who later fled. There are volcanoes and geothermal heat on the island, so it can feed a lot of people. But there is not enough food. Some people started killing people in order to survive. Not many people on the island froze to death. They all died of starvation and disease, but the most people were killed and turned into food." Zhu Yunk's expression was very heavy, and she quickly comforted, "Don't be afraid, we are here to take you home this time. We will definitely protect your safety." Zhang Yi leaned over and continued to ask, "Are there any aliens? They are mutated humans or creatures with powerful abilities. Are there any armed organizations?" Zhulang replied, "There are armed organizations, local gangs. However, there are indeed some people who suddenly developed very powerful power." After confirming that there were no professional troops, Zhang Yi felt a lot more relaxed. As for the aliens, there is no need to worry too much. A small Yanliu island did not have the conditions to give birth to a powerful stranger. If it were true, Zhulang would not have the chance to ask for help from the Jiangnan region. This place would have been ruled by him long ago. He patted Zhu Yung on the shoulder and motioned for her to continue chatting with Zhulang, but Zhang Yi had already finished asking his own questions. He doesn't care about anything else and is only responsible for coming to pick people up. Zhang Yi left Zhu Yung's room, then came to the control room and called Lao Shan. "Old Shan, we are about to arrive at our destination. You have everyone prepare weapons and equipment, and bulletproof vests must be worn. Also, pay attention to the surrounding sea areas and let me know, as soon as possible, if there is any disturbance." Out of his cautious character, Zhang Yi will not trust any strangers, so he must be well prepared before he can feel at ease. "Yes, Mr. Zhang." 3 days later, the Jinfeng arrived at Yanliu Island without any accidents. This island in the ocean, close to the equator, was formed by the eruption of an undersea volcano. It erupts every 37 years, and is an island formed by an active volcano. Therefore, Yanliu Island has huge geothermal energy underground. In the 50s, humans have been able to control the volcanic eruption of Yanliu Island well, and reduce the harm. Yanliu Island has also been developed into a tourist attraction, especially the local hot springs, which are very famous. After the end of the world, more than 5,000 refugees came here to avoid disasters, including local indigenous people and tourism industry practitioners. The total population is more than 20,000. These are the basic information about Yanliu Island. Chapter 804. You are going to die. Around 9:30 in the morning, biting cold wind blew from the northwest toward the edge of the equator. As the hottest area in the world, the current real-time temperature here is around -degrees°C. The Jinfeng approached Yanliu Island from the sea. It was covered with white snow as far as the eye could see, and large sheets of ice condensed in the offshore area. As the most advanced icebreaker at present, the Jinfeng naturally does not need to dock outside the offshore waters. The huge and heavy hull directly crushed the ice and arrived at the edge of Rock Current Island. Following the exchange with Snow Wolf, we came to the northwest of Yanliu Island and found a port of call here. Zhang Yi asked everyone to get ready and then asked Zhu Yung to contact the man codenamed Snow Wolf. Zhu Yung immediately used the communicator to contact Snow Wolf. Zhang Yi allocated manpower with a total of 16 crew members, 10 of whom stayed on the ship. He himself planned to take 6 crew members ashore. Soon after, Zhu Yung got in touch with Zhu language. "They'll be here right away," Zhu Yung said to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi nodded and then asked the sailor to put down the gangway and prepare to go ashore. "Is that substance called the source of God on this island?" Zhang Yi looked at the snow-covered island in front of him and thought curiously. Zhang Yi is still very curious about the mysterious substance that can enhance the strength of aliens and even allow Zhang Yi to break through the restrictions of genetic locks and reach the realm of Ypsilon. If you can get it, that's naturally the best. Although he is not particularly interested in improving his strength, in the end of the world, only with strong enough capital can he live well. Zhao Ke and Zhu Yunk followed Zhang Yi, both wearing white combat uniforms. It is said that the hot springs here are very good. Zhao Ke smiled and said next to Zhang Yi, if possible, I would like to take a dip later. More than half a month of sailing was really tiring. Now that it is finally possible to set foot on land, and I heard that the geothermal energy here is very rich, naturally people can't help but want to experience it. Hot springs contain a lot of minerals, which are very good for the body. Zhao Ke put a hand on Zhang Yi's shoulder and said with a smile. She didn't hold Zhang Yi's arm, because Zhang Yi, who is on alert, hates others hugging his arms. When Zhu Yunk saw this, he couldn't help but feel a little jealous. During the long sea voyage, her relationship with Zhang Yi did not achieve much breakthrough. Zhang Yi always kept a distance from her and drew a clear line from the beginning. She still didn't understand what was wrong with her. Just when Zhang Yi and the others were observing the situation on Yanliu Island and discussing hot spring bathing, Zhang Yi suddenly became alert. Careful. He immediately expanded the field of two worlds absolute nexus and protected several people around him. The next moment, I heard gunshots ringing in my ears. In the snow bushes in the distance, there were longing figures. They suddenly emerged from the snow and then started shooting fiercely at Zhang Yi and the others. However, these bullets were all swallowed up by the alien space sneak attack. But they are just ordinary bullets, not aliens. Zhang Yi reacted quickly. The corners of his mouth raised slightly. These people must be the dangers on the island that Zulang mentioned before. There was no way the Jinfeng was too conspicuous when it came to Yanliu Island, and it must have attracted some people's attention. They want to kill people and seize the ship. Go with. Zhang Yi waved his hand and shot all the bullets back. The gunmen hidden in the snow were all pierced by their bullets and suffered heavy casualties. The island was filled with screams and exclamations. Zhang Yi heard angry curses in his ears. The people who came were one of the now famous violent organizations on Yanliu Island. The leader was named Kunbi, who came from the small country of Nanyang. After their people discovered the Jinfeng, they immediately ambush around, planning to kill people and seize the ship. But I didn't expect that the stubble would be so hard. Kunbi's eyes were fixed on the group of people wearing white combat uniforms. Just by looking at their clothes, he could tell that those people were extraordinary. But instead of being trapped on this island and waiting to die, it's better to give it a try and maybe there's still a way to survive. Little ones, rush for me. Kunbi held a rifle in his hand, stood up, pointed it at Zhang Yi and the others and shot. They're all minions. Zhang Yi was too lazy to waste time and took out two golden sand eagles. He laid the guns flat and locked onto dozens of enemies hundreds of meters away with his precise shooting ability. The gunfire sounded like firecrackers. Every time Zhang Yi fired a bullet, an enemy was shot in the head and died. And the crew members are not idle either. They are all well-trained sailors. They are good sailors when they put down their guns, and they are good soldiers when they pick up their guns. Everyone picked up their guns and started to fight back. Originally, the enemy was in the open, and we were hidden. Zhang Yi and others could easily be surrounded and annihilated standing in the port without bunkers. However, firstly, Zhang Yi has the ability to swallow bullets, and secondly, to put it bluntly, even if Zhang Yi and the others stand there and let the other party shoot, even with the combat uniforms they were wearing, it was not something that these refugees could penetrate with their outdated guns. In less than a minute, almost all the invading villains were wiped out. Even if they realized something was wrong and wanted to escape, they would never be able to avoid the bullets shot by Zhang Yi. Kunbi, the leader of this organization, did not expect that the enemy was so powerful. I have no choice but to fight hard. Let you see how powerful I am. Kunbi's body suddenly twisted and turned into a strange creature covered with white bone spurs, like a giant centipede. Then he plunged directly into the snow and rushed towards Zhang Yi and others from under the ice and snow layer. Soon, Zhang Yi frowned and felt the attack that was about to launch from the ground. He was indifferent, just took out his holy seal and then stabbed the knife into the snow with his backhand. Sheer stream of blood spurted out directly from the ground, followed by heart-rending screams. With Zhang Yi's force, Kunbi's body flew out. The aliens are probably only at beta level. Kunbi's appearance startled both Zhao Ke and Zhu Yang. Women are instinctively afraid of this kind of insect, especially the giant centipede that is nearly 2 meters long. Who wouldn't feel frightened after seeing it? Only people like Zhang Yi, who had killed countless people, were already numb to the strange sights. Who are you? Why are you attacking us? Zhang Yi asked with a smile, with a condescending joking. If anyone in the Jiangnan region knew that a beta-level alien dared to sneak attack chaos, everyone would definitely laugh out loud. Spare me. I don't dare anymore. I know I was wrong. Kunbi twisted on the tip of the knife, wailing for mercy. Zhang Yi suddenly lost interest in him, because it seemed that he was just a useless fearful person. No, you just knew you were going to die. Zhang Yi threw him to the ground with a strong force in his hand, and then Zhang Yi followed him. Kunbi twisted his body and tried to escape, but Zhang Yi stabbed him hard through his body again. Puff. Blood splashed out again. I heard that centipedes are hard to kill. Zhang Yi stabbed his body from beginning to end one after another, and did not stop until his body was almost divided into 2 halves. Chapter 805 Snow Wolf. Happy National Day. As soon as Zhang Yi and others landed, they were attacked by an armed organization on Yanliu Island. This proved that Zhang Yi was right to be cautious. If the person who came today was not him, but an ordinary rescue team, he would probably have died under random gunfire. The sound of gunshots should attract a lot of attention. Zhao Ke said to Zhang Yi. It doesn't matter. It seems that there are no masters on this island. Zhang Yi said lightly. Such beta-level aliens dared to attack them blatantly, which shows that, even if there are aliens on this island, their level is not very high. No wonder. After all, Ganliu Island can be said to be isolated from the world now. I'm afraid they thought they were invincible after awakening a little bit of their powers. At this moment, a crew member suddenly raised his gun and yelled in the distance, "Who is it? Come out quickly. Don't shoot, don't shoot. I'm from Huaxu." A man came from a distance with his hands raised. He was wearing a white down jacket, and his head was covered tightly by a hat. Only half of his face could be seen, but he didn't seem to be very old. "Are you the rescue team sent by Huaxu Kingdom?" The man came over and asked cautiously. Zhang Yi and Zhu Yang looked at each other and asked him, "Are you Snow Wolf?" The man was stunned for a moment, and then tears started to flow from his dry eyes. "Are you from my hometown?" Zhang Yi nodded. "Yes, it's us." He actually covered his eyes and fell to his knees on the spot, sobbing loudly. "Great, you are finally here. Great, great." He was a little incoherent and kept muttering great. Zhang Yi could understand his mood. In such an isolated place, with no food and murderous thugs around, this kind of despair is not something ordinary people can understand. Seeing the man's appearance, Zhu Yang felt heartbroken and quickly went over to help him up. After some questioning, Zhang Yi found out the man's identity. His name is Li Zhangyu, and he is a Chinese. His parents immigrated to Tsingtao last century. The main language in Tsingtao is Chinese, so Li Zhangyu also speaks Chinese very fluently. He works as a history teacher in a school in Tsingtao. Originally, I came to Ganliu Island because of a trip organized by the school. As a result, a sudden cold wave trapped them here. Don't worry, we're here to take you home. Zhu Yang listened to Li Zhangyu's story with distress on his face. According to Li Zhangyu, after the end of the world, the island slowly turned into a purgatory on Earth. More than half of their team has died, and most of them have become food for the gangster organization. After listening to Li Zhangyu's words, Zhang Yi didn't feel much fluctuation in his heart. Zhang Yi had seen this kind of thing too many times when he was in Xianhe City, and it was nothing. At least compared to those who died tragically in Xianhe City, Li Zhangyu and others are much happier. At least they are still alive. Seeing Zhu Yang's compassionate look, Zhang Yi frowned. They came just to take Li Zhangyu back, and they would not make any unnecessary promises. The premise is to confirm that the information Li Zhangyu passed to Blizzard City is true. "Hello, Li Zhangyu." Zhang Yi walked up to him and stared at him with an indifferent expression. "Where is that thing you mentioned? Is it on you?" Li Zhang was alert. After hesitating for a while, he nodded slowly. I don't have the things with me. As long as you take us away, I will definitely give the things to you as promised. Besides, that thing was not obtained from Ganliu Island. If you want to know where that place is, save our lives first. Didn't you get it on Ganliu Island? Zhang Yi frowned slightly. In other words, the task is not over yet, right? Zhang Yi smiled lightly. Very good, very smart. Li Zhangai's approach was very cautious, which made Zhang Yi appreciate him a little. You will never hand over your cards before you are sure that you have received enough benefits. How many of you are still alive? Zhang Yi asked lightly. Li Zhangai replied, there are more than 30 people. This amount was completely acceptable to Zhang Yi, and it was much less than he expected. Very good, I can take you back. In front of Zhu Yang, Zhang Yi did not ask any more questions about the mysterious stone. Anyway, after getting on the boat, he had plenty of time to ask questions slowly. Where are your people? Zhang Yi looked around and found no one else there. Li Zhangai took a deep breath and hurriedly pointed to the distance. They are all hiding in the cave. I heard the gunfire and came over to check the situation. Zhang Yi said, take us over and have a look. He smiled and said, it seems that there are still many people on this island. We have to leave quickly without delay. The gunfire was so loud that it could be heard throughout the island. Naturally, it also attracted some people's attention. Zhang Yi doesn't care about other people. He is just here to complete the task, and the life and death of others has nothing to do with him. Li Zhangai hurriedly led Zhang Yi, and they passed through a beach and came to the bottom of the cliff. Li Zhangai came to a pile of rocks, pointed there and said, we have been here all the time. We can enter by moving the rocks. I'm sorry, could you please help me? Zhu Yang smiled and nodded. There is nothing wrong with being cautious. You are very smart. She looked at the crew members beside her and said, help move the rocks away. Slow. Zhang Yi stretched out his hand to stop them. He looked at Li Zhangai with amusement. Why can't you do it yourself? Li Zhangai's expression was startled, and he smiled unnaturally. Seeing this, Zhu Yang frowned and criticized Zhang Yi. Mr. Zhang, how long has it been since this happened, and you are still so mean? They have suffered so much on the island. Is it difficult to just ask your people to help move the rocks? Zhang Yi ignored Zhu Yang and pointed at Li Zhangai with the index finger of his right hand. He smiled and said, can a person who dares to go out alone to investigate the situation when the outside world is full of bullets and bullets be an ordinary person? Am I right, Snow Wolf? You are also an ability user. Zhang Yi slowly opened his eyes and said in a cold voice, you are very cautious, which I appreciate very much, but your strength is insignificant in my eyes. So, don't hide yourself needlessly, it will only make me bored. Do you understand? Hearing this, Li Zhangai revealed a wry smile. I didn't intend to hide anything. After saying that, in front of everyone, his body began to show obvious changes. White hair began to grow all over its body grew larger, and fangs and claws grew. After a moment, he turned into a white snow wolf more than 2 meters tall. Orc type ability user. I knew it would be like this. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to survive on this island. Zhang Yi said. He could see that he was just a beta level ability user with little potential, let alone lethality. If there was a real fight, even a fully armed crew member might have a chance to kill him. It's just to protect myself. Even so, I still had to watch many people around me die. Li Zhangai said sadly. He alone cannot protect everyone around him. After all, if everyone wants to live, they must get food and fuel. These are important supplies that allow people to risk their lives on Yanliu Island. Chapter 806 The Survivors of Yanliu Island. Li Zhangai personally removed the big stone blocking the cave, revealing a cave entrance only more than 1 meter wide. He returned to his human appearance and took the lead to crawl inside. Zhang Yi was secretly vigilant and let the 2 crew members in first, then walked in the middle with Zhao Ke and Zhu Yang. Behind him were 4 crew members. It was very dark inside the cave, and the crew turned on the lights, which immediately illuminated the entire cave. It was warm and humid inside, and there was a smell of sulfur. This is a very common smell in hot springs. Zhang Yi said with some surprise. I thought it would be very smelly here. How do you solve the problems of bathing and excretion in your daily life? Li Zhang explained. I know some medical skills, so I will remind everyone to pay attention to personal hygiene to avoid contracting infectious diseases. There are hot springs below, which can clean the body. As for excrement, there are special channels for storage and can be used as fertilizer to grow food. Having said that, he gave a wry smile. Originally, we planned to implement a sustainable development strategy here. However, there are no farmers here, and we are not good at planting. Moreover, the growth cycle of food is too long, and we cannot wait that long. Zhang Yi looked at him and said lightly, your idea is a good one. Zhang Yi asked himself, what could he do if he was placed in such an environment? Well, no need to think about it. He already had the answer in his heart. He will not be Li Zhangyu, and will become Kun Bi. Not long after traveling, Zhang Yi vaguely saw a light source deep in the cave. As if there is light. The light does not come from a fire or a lamp, but from a green, or on the rock wall deep in the cave. They emit a faint light in the darkness. Although it is not too bright, it is still barely enough for people to see clearly the surrounding scenery 2 or 3 meters away. Zhang Yi walked beside Li Zhangyu and asked casually, how do you communicate with Jiangnan region at such a distance? Isn't there a signal problem? Hearing this, Li Zhangyu smiled faintly and then took out a Warwick Mate 600 from his pocket. Zhang Yi nodded clearly. So that's what happened. Their mobile phone signal is indeed world class. Li Zhangyu scratched his head. Actually, there is a base station on the island. It was also built by Warwick. Zhang Yi couldn't help but laugh twice. In this regard, Warwick is indeed far ahead. Soon after, they came to the cave where Li Zhangyu and others lived. But when they arrived at the entrance, they were guarded by 2 men with guns in their hands. Stop, who the hell? The 2 men raised their guns vigilantly and said, it's me, I'm here with the rescue team. Li Zhangyu took a step forward and showed his face. Rescue team? The 2 men looked suspicious, with a hint of joy in their eyes, but they were more cautious. Is this the rescue team from Huaxu country you called for before? Li Zhangyu nodded. Yes, we are saved. We can follow their ship back to the land, and we will never have to live such a hungry life again. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows slightly. Li Zhangyu thought so well that life on land was even worse than on the island. But after taking them back, Zhang Yi and Jiangnan district will naturally make arrangements for them. At least they won't starve to death. It was just the expressions of the 2 gatekeepers that made Zhang Yi feel a little strange. They behaved very complicatedly regarding the arrival of themselves and others. How is this going? When a person encounters a savior in a desperate situation, shouldn't he cry with joy? He realized it wasn't that simple. But it didn't matter to him. He just wanted to take away Li Zhangyu, to be precise, the stone in his hand that was suspected to be the source of God. Li Zhangyu turned his head and said to Zhang Yi with a smile, everyone, please wait here for a moment. This is where they live. It may be a little messy. I'll ask them to clean it up so as not to hinder your eyes. As he spoke, he pointed to several large rocks on the ground. Everyone, please sit down. Zhang Yi said calmly, no need, we will wait here. He took a step forward, stared into Li Zhangyu's eyes, smiled, and said meaningfully, if there is anything that needs to be discussed, discuss it quickly. Time waits for no one, and we cannot stay here for too long. Li Zhangyu swallowed, turned away with an unnatural expression, and actually covered his mouth with his hand in embarrassment. As if to hide his embarrassment, he licked his lips and ran a hand through his hair. I'll just let them pack their things, and nothing else will bother them. After finishing speaking, Li Zhangyu took the 2 gatekeepers and entered the depths of the cave. There is a lot of light inside the cave, which is a space of 200 to 300 square meters. There were tents, cooking utensils, and even clothes hung up to dry. However, the living area was kept very clean, and there was no fesses or household garbage everywhere. At this time, dozens of people were sitting together in the middle of the cave, and the luminosaur dug out in the middle illuminated a space. A short but strange looking middle-aged man stood in the center of the circle and spoke in a firm and powerful tone. The current situation is only a temporary difficulty. I believe that the end of the world will soon pass, and we will also be saved. Yesterday was cruel. Today is even crueler. But tomorrow will be beautiful. Most people died tonight and never saw the sun tomorrow. So everyone must hold on and don't lose confidence. Have hope for the future. His name is Ma Wenzheng and he is an entrepreneur in the team. He now works part-time as a priest and is also one of the spiritual leaders of the team. As his passionate speech ended, there was sparse applause. Although the surrounding refugees looked a little tired and numb after hearing his words, many people's eyes lit up. When this kind of hope is cut off, people need encouragement and others to tell them that there is still a tomorrow to survive. At first glance, the composition of this team is complex. It can be said to be the rainbow team, with people from many countries in it. In the apocalypse, they choose to join a group to stay warm and tide over the difficulties. Zhang Yi walked in with someone, and he excitedly said to everyone, "Everyone, I found the person who rescued us. The rescue team has come ashore and will take us back soon." After hearing what Zhang Yi said, everyone immediately jumped up from the ground and rushed over to surround him. Really? Someone really came to save us? I knew it. I knew it would be like this. Some people cried excitedly on the spot. Is it the Colombian Maritime Force? A man wearing gold-rimmed glasses had an excited face. I knew that Colombia would not give up on its citizens. I sent them hundreds of messages asking for help, and they finally came. Thank God. Thank Colombia, it didn't abandon its people. The man with glasses was so excited that he knelt on the ground with tears in his eyes and prayed devoutly. Chapter 807 The dispute between the rock flow group. When the bespectacled man Zhang Yi said this, the others thought it was the Colombian Sea Rescue Force coming over, and they all cheered. Great, if we can go to Colombia, we can definitely live a good life. Colombia is the most beautiful country in the world, with abundant materials and happy people. A group of people have already started a carnival state. After all, they have been in a desperate situation for a long time, and just giving them a little fantasy is enough to make them have a big dream. When Zhang Yi saw this, he said with some displeasure, "It's a rescue ship from Huaxu Kingdom." The atmosphere at the scene suddenly froze. Zhalan's eyes widened, and he said in disbelief, "What? Huaxu Kingdom's rescue ship? Mr. Zhang Yi, why did you ask for help from them instead of Colombia?" In the crowd, a blonde foreigner with a beard longer than his hair said loudly, "I don't want to go to Huaxu. I'm a Colombian citizen. I want to wait for the Colombian Navy to come and take me home. This is the right given to me by the Constitution." In another direction, a thin and short middle-aged man said in broken English, "Mr. Lee, as a local official in Silla, I can tell you very clearly, Huaxu Kingdom is not an ideal country. My suggestion is to go to Colombia, or even Marais." Zhang Yi's suspicion is justified. Some of these wealthy people vacationing on Yanliu Island are not willing to take refuge in Huaxu country. In fact, this controversy has existed for a very long time. Their group was divided into 3 factions. One faction is the Huaxu faction headed by Zhang Yi, who advocates asking for help from the Huaxu Kingdom. These people are either Huaxu Kingdom people or overseas expatriates. One group is the foreign group and hopes to go to Western countries. The third faction is the centrist, drifting with the crowd and having no clear opinions. You can go anywhere as long as you can survive. Cha He-sung and others are staunch foreigners. Several people refuted Zhang Yi's actions without hesitation, thinking that he had caused trouble to everyone. Zhang Yi rubbed his temples. "We have tried countless times before and asked for help from surrounding countries, but no country has responded to our request. Only Huaxu Kingdom is willing to save us now. Let's all go with them quickly. Staying alive is the most important thing." Zhang Yi's girlfriend Zhang Yi walked next to him and firmly supported him. "Now is not the time for quarrels. Yanliu Island is getting more and more dangerous. We are short of food, and other survivors have started fighting among themselves. If we wait any longer, we may not be able to wait for rescue, but instead we will be killed." Among the team, a clip sound suddenly sounded. "Oh, please stop arguing and just go to Huaxu country. Anyway, there is no other choice now. Let's go there and stay for a while. If we have a way to leave later, why don't we go somewhere else?" she said proudly. "Don't worry, I'm familiar with the way to leave Huaxu country. That's where my mother and I left." Besides, my old man used to hold a senior position there. She smiled proudly and said, I will take care of you then. The girl is not tall, slightly fat, and looks delicate. The people in the team are already familiar with each other and know that what she said is not false. SYNOPSIS, nicknamed Xiaojua, her father was once a local high-level official, and her father and uncle also held important positions. However, SYNOPSIS grew up abroad and later immigrated directly. SYNOPSIS' words made Xie Haicheng and others look thoughtful. At this time, part-time priest Ma Wenzheng also came over. He said in a slow but firm tone, I see nothing wrong with everyone returning to Huaxu country together. Now we have to consider how to live first, and other conflicts should be discussed later. When Zhao heard Ma Wenzheng speaking, he couldn't help but sneered. Mr. Ma, you are from Huaxu country, of course you want to go back. After you return there, you can be your big boss. Can you be the same as us? People here don't fully understand what's going on in the outside world. Some people even thought that this was just a relatively large-scale snow disaster, and that human civilization still retained a large part of it. Ma Wenzheng said calmly, what matters is not this, but where you can survive. He mused, the world outside may be worse than we imagined. We must consider whether this is our only chance to survive. After he finished speaking, he walked to Li Zhangyi's side and said, I agree to return to Huaxu Kingdom. Li Zhangyi looked at the people in front of him who were still hesitating. Although they each have their own problems, conflicts have also broken out between them. However, after all, they had lived together for half a year, and this feeling of dependence on life and death made him unwilling to give up on anyone. No matter what, I have decided to follow their ship back. I hope you can all come with me. Everyone, please believe me for once. Everyone looked at me, and I looked at you, and started talking in low voices. This is an opportunity, but do we really want to go to Huaxu country? What are you doing there if you are not familiar with the place? They are Chinese people from Huaxu and overseas Chinese, but we don't understand the language. I don't like that country. I would rather go to Colombia or Avonia, or even Marais. Shouldn't they come to rescue us out of international humanitarianism? Among the crowd, Solar official Xie Haicheng frowned and thought for a long time, and finally walked to Li Zhangyi obediently. Mr. Li, I believe you will lead everyone to a better life. So I decided to leave with you. Xie Haicheng's only feeling among the team is that he is smart. No matter what he does, he never suffers. So after he also chose to go to Huaxu Kingdom, many people couldn't help it and sided with Li Zhangyi. Finally, under their persuasion, most people chose to leave with the Huaxu Kingdom's rescue ship. There were only 5 or 6 people who stubbornly chose to stay. I have already sent a distress signal to Colombia. They will definitely come. This is the power I should have. The few people left behind were all Colombians, and they always firmly believed that the Colombian rescue ship would travel tens of thousands of sea miles to take them home. After Li Zhangyi and others tried to persuade him to no avail, they had no choice but to respect them. Zhang Yi thought for a while and said to everyone, since we are going to board the ship and leave, let's leave some of the food and clothes we have on us for them. As soon as these words came out, most people immediately stepped back, and no one wanted to stand in front. Xie Haicheng sighed, your idea is good, but it is still unknown whether we can leave now. I think it is better to remain skeptical about the Huaxu Kingdom's ship. And even if they get on the ship, who can tell what they will do to us? It is important to keep some emergency supplies with you. So I have to keep my food and water for myself. He clutched his backpack tightly, and he looked very much like Gollum guarding the Lord of the Rings. If anyone came to snatch it, he would fight them tooth and nail. Chapter 808 The Spa. Xie Haicheng's attitude reflected the thoughts of most people. They whispered in agreement, and no one was willing to give their own supplies to those Colombians. Some people even gloated and mocked, it's none of my business if they don't want to leave. We are all adults, so we have to walk on the path we choose. Zhang Yi was helpless and could only silently keep some of her food and fresh water. There were also a few people who, like her, left some water and food behind. After Li Zhangyi counted the number of people who decided to leave, he asked them to wait here for a while he went to find Zhang Yi and Zhu Yang. At this time, Zhang Yi and others were not idle. Among the accompanying sailors, there were experienced ones who immediately found the nearby hot springs. Zhang Yi asked 2 crew members to guard the cave, while he took Zhu Yang and Zhao to the hot spring. It was a smoky place, deep underground. There is a pool of bubbling hot spring water that smells of sulfur. Zhao said happily, this spring water is very good for the body, and it can also treat skin diseases. There is even a saying that it can keep women's skin young. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and asked jokingly, what, do you want to hang out here for a while? Zhao face turned red. No, I'm very busy now, and I'm embarrassed to waste everyone's time. Zhu Yang felt that his body was itching. On a ship, taking a shower is a luxury. After all, the freshwater resources on the ship are limited, and everyone has to use a limited amount. Even she can only take a hot bath once a week, and it can't last more than 10 minutes each time. So when she saw such a nice hot spring, she felt itchy all over and wanted to jump in and take a bath. However, if she knew that the limited use of water resources was limited to her alone, she would probably be pissed to death. Freshwater resources are indeed limited during ocean voyages, but the amount of water Zhang Yi carries with him is far from being used up. Zhang Yi, I want to take a bath here. Zhu Yang stared at Zhang Yi and demanded with eyes that refused to refuse. Zhang Yi touched his chin and planned to take the hot spring water back. But soaking in hot springs would be completely meaningless if it wasn't in this kind of environment. So he nodded. Okay, let's take a shower here first. After getting Zhang Yi's nod, Zhao and Zhu Yang were very happy. Zhang Yi asked several crew members to guard outside while he soaked in the hot spring inside. There are several springs in the hot spring. Zhu Yang asked Zhang Yi for a bath towel and then ran to another place. Naturally, Zhang Yi and Zhao hang out together so they can rub each other's backs and so on. Don't tell me Zhang Yi hasn't been in a hot spring for a long time. The last time he could remember was a year ago when he and several colleagues from the company went on a group trip to a hot spring bath. When thinking about the past, Zhang Yi couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Those colleagues and friends have all died in the apocalypse. Fortunately, there is someone else by his side now. For example, Zhao. She and Zhang Yi were lying in the pool together, enjoying the physical relaxation of the hot springs. The feeling of every muscle relaxing is so comfortable. Anyone who likes to take a bath knows that the best time to take a bath is in the cold winter. The colder it is outside, the better. The colder it is outside, the more comfortable it is to soak in a hot spring. Zhang Yi came to see Zhang Yi and learned that Zhang Yi was taking a bath, so he waited there obediently. After more than half an hour, Zhang Yi finished taking a bath. If you soak this thing for a long time, your head will feel dizzy. He shouted towards the cave next to him. It's almost time. It's time to go back. Zhang Yi said while drinking the watermelon juice in his hand. Soaking in hot springs and drinking drinks are also great pleasures in life. But after calling several times, there was no response from the other end. Zhao frowned worriedly. Did you faint because of the bubble? Seeing this, Zhang Yi said to her, go over and take a look. Zhao was greatly surprised, and she was a little puzzled by Zhang Yi's behavior as a gentleman. Zhang Yi sneered, I just don't like causing trouble. If a young lady with a special status, like Zhu Yang takes a look at her body, she might be taken advantage of. This is comparable to the tram idiots back in the day. People would tell you that you were an idiot, but you had no place to reason. Zhao instantly understood what Zhang Yi meant and went over to find Zhu Yang. After a while, Zhao walked over, supporting Zhu Yang, whose face was red. She looked like she'd been overdone and her blood was rising. But when she saw Zhang Yi, a look of resentment flashed in her eyes. She was obviously given the chance, but Zhang Yi didn't take the bait. What else could she do? Let's go. Zhang Yi didn't express too much concern. He just said something coldly, then turned around and walked outside. Seeing this, Zhu Yang clenched his silver teeth. Soon, they met those from Zhang Yi's team. Since they are survivors on Yanliu Island, let's call them the Yanliu group. Zhang Yi glanced over and saw some familiar faces. Not that he was an acquaintance, but among these people, there were some wealthy businessmen from Huaxu Kingdom and even local officials from Xianhai City. Zhang Yi had seen them on TV. Come to think of it, those who can go to an island in the ocean for a vacation must have some financial resources. How can ordinary people have such leisure time and funds? At this moment, Zhang Yi suddenly heard an excited sound. Yeah, it's Alice. You are Alice. In the rock flow, SYNOPSIS ran out excitedly and headed straight for Zhu Yunk. Sister, do you remember me? Zhu Yunk looked at the girl in front of him, thought for a moment, and said in surprise, are you Lisa? You are here. SYNOPSIS body trembled with excitement. Senior, it's great to see you here. Are you also a member of the rescue team? Zhu Yunk smoothed his hair, nodded and said with a smile, my uncle is the person in charge of the Jiangnan region of Huaxu Kingdom. This time, a friend and I led a team to rescue you. SYNOPSIS opened her eyes wide and was extremely excited. Oh, my goodness. This is really great. I feel much more at ease when you are here, senior sister. I was very scared at first, not knowing who was coming. But if you are here, I will be rest assured. SYNOPSIS, like Zhu Yunk, both studied at MIT. Of course, it does not depend on grades, but on the places obtained by donating funds. With identities like this, they all have their own circles in Columbia, and it is not surprising that they know each other. It can even be said to be inevitable. After all, no matter where they go, the people of Huaxu are accustomed to staying in groups. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows, but didn't take it to heart. He asked people to count the number of people, and then said to them, before I take you away, I must first declare my discipline. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 809 Zhang, I have to criticize you 2 times, +1. After everyone arrived, Zhang Yi first explained to them the discipline on the ship. After boarding the ship, I will distribute necessary food and freshwater resources to everyone to ensure your living conditions. But you must obey all my orders unconditionally. Of course, I won't ask you to kill people, set fires, or sell your bodies. But at least no one will cause me trouble at sea. Because we spent a lot of time, energy, and resources on this trip. Moreover, there are many risks in sea navigation. For example, sea monsters, pirates, and bad weather. Zhang Yi put his hands behind his back and said sternly, I will never tolerate any behavior that will cause trouble for me. If anyone dares to offend, a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I will throw him into the ice. Go to the sea. These words made many people shudder. It's so scary. The rescue team from Huaxu country is not humane at all. They actually said such things to those of us who were affected by the disaster. Well, I'm starting to regret it now. SYNOPSIS also said to Zhu Yunk, this team member of yours is so scary. You don't care about him. How can you talk like this? Wouldn't this affect the image of Huaxu Kingdom? Zhu Yunk also wanted to save face in front of his schoolmates. So he said, he's always been like this. I'm too lazy to talk about him. At this point, she seemed to be trying to make amends for herself, and continued, but he also did this to successfully rescue you. So you should cooperate with him. Listening to everyone's murmurs, Zhang Yi smiled faintly. Don't say that. I won't give you a chance. If anyone thinks that I'm overbearing and unkind, you can choose to stay now. Make your own choice. There was a lot of discussion among the crowd. It could be seen from their faces that they were very dissatisfied with Zhang Yi's attitude and were worried about their life after boarding the ship. But no one chose to quit. After all, if they stayed, they would probably die. No one can guarantee whether a second ship will arrive at the island. Seeing that everyone had no opinions, Zhang Yi continued, now, please hand over all the weapons and communication equipment you have on you. In particular, you are not allowed to hide weapons on your body. Guns, ammunition, fruit knives, even nail clippers are not allowed to be kept privately. Someone in the crowd asked sarcastically, what if your nails are long and you want to cut them? Zhang Yi smiled and narrowed his eyes. You can rub it on the floor. Li Zhangyu hurriedly said, please believe in the people sent by Huaxu Kingdom. They are here to save us. Only by believing in them can we leave this ghost place. The people of the Yanliu group were reluctant, but still handed over all the weapons and communication equipment in their hands. After this collection, more than a dozen guns were obtained, but there were not many bullets left. There are also knives, iron rods and other items. But Zhang Yi understands that, if people really want to fight, anything can become a weapon. He was just trying his best to avoid this group of people seeking their own death. Zhang Yi is not worried about them causing trouble at sea, he just hates trouble. At this time, Hei-cheng came to Zhang Yi, nodded and bowed. "This gentleman, my name is Hei-cheng, from Silla. Thank you very much for coming to rescue us. Please accept my respect." As he spoke, he bowed 90 degrees to Zhang Yi with very skillful movements. Zhang Yi took a look and realized that this old boy was on the right track. He just nodded and said nothing more. Zhang Yi doesn't like this kind of Philistine guy, but he can't say he hates him, because it is always easy for such people to get along in society. "If there is anything I need to do, please tell me. You are my savior, and my life belongs to you from now on." Hei-cheng tirelessly flattered Zhang Yi, and as he spoke, his eyes became moist, and he shed tears. Zhang Yi just said calmly, "Just take care of yourself, and don't cause trouble for me." "Yes, I will strictly follow your instructions." After Hei stood upright, he turned to look at the others in the Yanliu group and shouted loudly, "Long live Huaxu Kingdom! Long live Mr. Zhang!" Not to mention, several friends of Hei-cheng in the Yanliu group actually shouted loudly. The others looked disgusted when they saw this. But there were also people who came over to learn from him and started to flatter Zhang Yi one after another. "Our wealth and life are entrusted to you. Please take us back alive. You are our savior, the angel sent by God." A rainbow fart came to Zhang Yi for free. More than an hour ago, they were still making disdainful comments about Huaxu's rescue team, complaining why it wasn't people from Colombia and other countries. Zhang Yi didn't care about this, because he understands the identity of this group of people. They are basically officials or wealthy businessmen from various countries who come for vacation, as well as their families. He didn't have much affection for these people, and was indifferent to their flattery. But for people like Hei-cheng, doing this is very important. No matter how cold Zhang Yi's attitude is towards them, they will spare no effort to please Zhang Yi. Words and dignity are worthless at a time like this. But it is possible that, because of gaining Zhang Yi's favor, he could get a chance to survive at a critical moment. They are always so smart. Before setting off, Zhang Yi asked Li Zhangyu, "Is everyone here?" Li Zhangyu sighed helplessly. "There are a few people who refuse to leave. They are all Colombians, and are still waiting for the Colombian rescue team to take them back." Zhang Yi nodded. "Oh. Just forget it. If they don't want to go with us. I always respect other people's opinions." When he spoke, he glanced slightly at the crew members next to him, and swept his neck twice with his right hand, as if nothing had happened. When the two crew members saw this, they immediately understood. The secret of the source of God is absolutely not allowed to be leaked. Not to mention the Colombians. A group of people left the cave. As they left, those who chose to stay looked at the empty cave, and suddenly felt a huge panic in their hearts. They hesitated for a long time, but finally decided to stay and wait for their country's rescue ship to pick them back. But while they were waiting, there was a sound of footsteps at the entrance of the cave. Several foreigners were surprised, because they saw that it was the crew members who had left and returned. "What's the matter with you?" The two crew members smiled, and took out their silenced pistols, and soon there was a biu-biu sound in the cave. Zhang Yi and the others left the cave and headed towards the port. After a while, two crew members caught up. "Sorry, we just went to relieve ourselves." Zhang Yi glanced at them, and after making eye contact, he knew that the matter was done. "Return to the team." The two returned to the team. This sign made some people murmur in their hearts. For example, Ma Wenzheng seemed to have guessed something. But he didn't speak, just shook his head slowly. Continue heading towards the port. The people in the Yanliu group couldn't help but feel frightened when they saw the broken corpses along the way. These bodies are all fresh. How did they die? Ma Wenzheng couldn't help but ask. Zhang Yi said calmly, "I killed him." Hei-cheng hurriedly praised, "Well done. These people must have evil intentions." Being killed by the brave Mr. Zhang and his crew is so satisfying. Su Nuangxi walked next to Zhu Yang, relying on her relationship with Zhu Yang and her identity as her own father. She always had a condescending expression on her face. Even Zhang Yi was regarded by her as the person who had been ordered to save her little princess. Seeing so many corpses on the ground, she turned pale with fright and kept covering her chest. He couldn't help but said to Zhang Yi, "Don't you think it would be cruel to kill them?" Zhang Yi was stunned for a moment, his brows furrowed, and he stared at Su Nuangxi's face in a funny way. "They are robbers. Are you pitying them?" Su Nuangxi shook her head. "No, they are not bandits. They are just a group of poor people struggling to survive. In the past, they were trying to survive, but now that you are here, you obviously have the opportunity to take them away. Why do you have to kill them?" Su Nuangxi stared at Zhang Yi righteously. "I must criticize you. What you do will greatly affect the international image of Huaxu country." Chapter 810 Food Factory. Su Nuangxi's words made Zhang Yi stop. She had been chatting with Zhu Yang along the way, and Zhang Yi knew who she was. "Are you from Huaxu country?" Zhang Yi stared at her and asked coldly. Su Nuangxi said disapprovingly, "At least my father's generation lived in that land and made outstanding contributions to that land. And I'm criticizing you from a humanitarian perspective. It has nothing to do with which country I'm from." The corners of Zhang Yi's mouth raised. Anyone who knew him well knew that the woman in front of him was going to be miserable. "Contribution? Haha, what a contribution from your father's generation." Zhu Yang came over and said to Zhang Yi, "Forget it, don't argue with her. She has never suffered anything since she was a child and is not familiar with the world." She leaned into Zhang Yi's ear and said she even blew herself up about her family fortune on the internet before. "Such a stupid girl. Why do you care about her?" Zhang Yi said coldly, "I hate those people who stand and talk without back pain." Su Nuangxi was still preaching her own ideas righteously. "When I was studying in Colombia, I would help homeless people and hungry African children every year. I believe that people should be united and kind to each other instead of hating each other." She lowered her eyes dejectedly. "This may not be easy for you Chinese to understand. After all, people in Huaxu are generally selfish and insensitive." These words made some Huaxu people in the Yanliu group change their expressions. Li Zhang Yi's girlfriend Zhang Yi pulled her sleeves and frowned. "Stop saying a few words. Don't generalize." Su Nuangxi raised her neck stubbornly, "But this is what I saw." She pointed at Zhang Yi. "Look, he went too far. Why must killing be used to solve the problem?" For a long time, Zhang Yi thought that the so-called Holy Mother and the vast majority of idiots only existed on the internet and were difficult to encounter in reality. But today, his eyes were opened. His brain circuit couldn't understand how such a person could exist in the world. "Probably because I ate too much Sanlu milk powder when I was a child." He did not respond to Su Nuangxi's words, but simply said, "Let's go and check out a nearby place first." As he spoke, he changed direction, and instead of heading towards the port, he walked in another direction on the island. Li Zhang hurriedly asked, "Mr. Zhang, where are we going?" Zhang Yi said, "The lair of these villains." Li Zhang thought for a while and suddenly realized, "Do you want to collect their supplies?" Yes, it is true that supplies are easily in short supply when sailing across the ocean. They thought Zhang Yi was going to collect the loot, so they all followed him without thinking too much. Along the way, Su Nuangxi felt excited when she saw that Zhang Yi didn't refute her words. She thought Zhang Yi knew her identity and was afraid of her father's power and could only swallow her anger. So she spoke more brazenly. "To be honest, there are indeed many problems in the country of Huaxu. Its large population also leads to generally low quality. Well, I don't mean any irony in this. I'm just commenting rationally, neutrally, and objectively. If it weren't for this, my father and mother would not have sent me to Zhelan to study at MIT. If I go back this time, I think it is necessary to change the views of the people in that place. Oh, but maybe it's just wasted effort." She tried her best to belittle Huazugo, trying to prove that she was right to leave and to show her nobility. Zhang Yi had a sneer on his lips and said nothing, silently waiting for something. After a while, they arrived at the base camp of the previous gang of villains. This is also a cave, but it's not underground. When they first arrived outside, everyone's expressions changed drastically. The ground was covered in black blood and bones. Obviously, those are human bones. There is even flesh and blood on the skeleton that has not been removed. There was a huge chopping board at the door of the cave, and the axes and machetes on it exuded an extremely disgusting stench. Go inside and have a look. Zhang Yi was wearing a combat uniform and had a mask to block out the odor, so he was not worried and even smiled and invited everyone inside to take a look. Zhang Yi said, "The supplies must be stored inside. Let's go and look for them. This is also for our future voyages." SYNOPSIS pinched her nose and shouted, "Why do you want us to come here? Can't you just look for it yourself?" Zhang Yi walked over impatiently and grabbed her long ponytail. Zhang Yi used so much force that SYNOPSIS shed tears on the spot in pain. "Ah. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Let go. You're dragging me to death." Zhang Yi said with a smile, "Didn't you tell me to be kind and generous before? Come on. Come on. I'll show you who I killed. Have you seen these bones? What are these?" The main dish is inside. He dragged SYNOPSIS into the cave without any explanation. The stench inside made people want to vomit. Zhu Yunk wanted to persuade him, but when she saw Zhang Yi's cold eyes, she was too frightened to step forward. After entering the cave, Zhang Yi threw SYNOPSIS directly to the ground. SYNOPSIS burst into tears, pinching her nose and wanting to curse. But when she looked up, she was so frightened that she screamed. Inside the cave, there were corpses hanging everywhere. In the apocalypse, food is very precious, and they are reluctant to waste it at all. The skinned corpse hung from the wall, its hands pierced with hooks like pig's trotters. There were strings of grunting things hanging on the ropes by the wall. They were large intestines, but they looked much fatter than pig intestines. The peeled skins were dried on the ground and used as clothing for heating. Put the released blood in a basin to make blood tofu. Everything here is like purgatory on earth. SYNOPSIS' eyes almost blurred. All she could do was howl desperately. She backed away like crazy, but accidentally put one hand into a soft and wet thing. Dang dang. SYNOPSIS took a look and realized that she had knocked over a wash basin and all the sewer water flowed out and covered her body. Two eyes rolled over and stared at her blankly. What? SYNOPSIS was about to collapse. Although after the end of the world, they experienced many tragic things on Yanliu Island, but she had never seen such a hell on earth. Zhang Yi asked with a smile, "Look, these are the food factories for the people you said should be treated generously. Now you think it's those people who are pitiful, but these people who are hung on the wall are pitiful? By the way, maybe there are some of your friends among these people." Chapter 811 Refugees. SYNOPSIS was so frightened that she almost collapsed. Suddenly her eyes turned white and she fainted. When those who followed behind saw such a scene, some couldn't help but vomited on the spot. The foreign devil Bayemo held his head in his hands and shouted, "OMG. My god, this is simply hell. Is there Satan here?" They had seen dead people and thought their willpower was strong enough, but human nature makes them intolerable to such a scene. Zhang Yi looked at them curiously and asked Zhang Yi, "What, you haven't eaten before?" Zhang Yi's face was pale, and his mentality had obviously been greatly tested. However, he said angrily, "We are humans, not animals. How could we do such a thing?" His girlfriend Zhang Yi also came over angrily and looked at Zhang Yi without fear. "Mr. Zhang, please don't insult our character. Even if we starve to death, it's impossible for us to eat this kind of food." Zhang Yi smiled. "Then how do you solve the problem of food?" Zhang Yi said, "Because it is a tourist island, a large amount of food is stored here all year round. We stayed in a hotel on the island, and the food in the warehouse sustained us for several months. Later, we relied on Sahu and others to go hunting. The aquatic resources around Ganliu Island are very rich, and we can survive by eating aquatic products." Zhang Yi said, "This is the tropics, it's degrees below zero. I'm afraid all the fish in the offshore areas have disappeared." Zhang Yi blinked. "There is a giant turtle near Yanliu Island, which is one of the local characteristics. Its vitality is very tenacious, so we mostly survive on that." Zhang Yi lowered his eyes and suddenly raised his head to look at Zhang Yi. "Is the turtle soup delicious?" Li Zhang Yi looked to the side. It's good to be full, but it doesn't taste like anything. He pulled Zhang Yi and asked her to take the students out. This place was too bloody and not suitable for them. Zhang Yi brought them here just to teach SYNOPSIS a lesson and tell her to shut up and stop annoying him. It also serves as a warning to others. Zhu Young had already run outside and vomited wildly. I'm afraid that at this time, she was also madly cursing Zhang Yi in her heart for bringing her to see these things. However, these scenes are all small scenes to Zhang Yi and the crew. When they lived in Xianhai City, they had seen even more miserable scenes. For example, have you ever seen hundreds of thousands of zombies attack the human camp and then tear each human alive until only the bones are left? Small scenes. These are small scenes. Zhang Yi glanced at SYNOPSIS, who was unconscious and felt a little boring. The tone is not small, but the courage is not big. Originally, he planned to give her a dish of original 9-turn large intestine. But luckily for her, she fainted from fright. According to Zhang Yi's character, I really want to throw this woman on the island and let her fend for herself. But Zhu Zheng had requested that all members of the Yan Liu group must be brought back to prevent the secrets from being leaked. Secondly, because Li Zhang and others were around, Zhang Yi couldn't do anything perfectly. So he called 2 men from the Yan Liu group to take SYNOPSIS with them and then left the magical cave and headed for the port. After a while, they arrived near the port. But when I went there, it was deserted and there were only corpses on the ground. When we came back, the area near the port was crowded with people and it was noisy like a vegetable market. Zhang Yi keenly discovered that the corpses near the port had disappeared. He was convinced, but he didn't have much opinion. After all, this kind of thing is very common. The Jinfeng stayed in the port, and Lao Shan asked every crew member to hold a submachine gun and guard against any refugees, not allowing any refugees to board the ship. But there are too many refugees here, and together with the local residents, they are spread throughout the port. If you look around, there are thousands of them. And there are people coming here from other directions on the island one after another. Some thieves even braved the low temperature of more than 20 degrees below zero to try to sneak onto the boat from the seawater. Lao Shan had no choice but to fire shots in the air and use rubber bullets to drive them away. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Our captain is not here right now. No one should come closer, otherwise I will shoot. Lao Shan is not a soft-hearted person, but he knows that Zhang Yi is here to pick up people on the island, and he cannot figure out whether the people in front of him are the targets that Zhang Yi wants to pick up, so he does not dare to shoot rashly, and such behavior only fuels the arrogance of a group of people. Some people took out their gold Rolex watches and tried to bribe Lao Shan. I still have over $1 billion in savings. As long as you take me away, I will give you half of it. This gold watch is the deposit. Some people held children in their arms and tried to gain sympathy. Please take us, mother and son, away, otherwise we will die sooner or later on this island. Shouldn't women and children have priority at times like this? Hey, all of you, give way and let us get on the boat first. Some people also came up with their own identities and backgrounds. Some said that their second uncle was an important official in a certain department of Huaxu Kingdom, and some said that their father was a senior leader in Jiangnan region. Some people knelt on the ground and kowtowed and suffered miserably, just so that Lao Shan Fang would let them board the ship. Thousands of people, all talking about their reasons. In fact, there is only one appeal, and that is to take them out of this hellish place. Because there were so many people, it was so crowded that many people fell into the sea and screamed because they were frozen in the ice water. Zhu Young was stunned. Why are there so many people on the island? This is what tropical islands are like. The people who come here for vacation are all rich people. How can they let themselves lack food and drink? Zhang Yi sneered. What's more, even if the food is gone, isn't there still food in reserve? Zhu Young looked at Zhang Yi in surprise. Reserve food? Are you talking about the seafood in the sea? Zhang Yi said calmly. One year there was a famine, and many people starved to death. Emperor Huaijin said, why not eat minced meat? People laughed at Emperor Huaijin for being stupid. But if you think about it from another perspective, this sentence is actually very scary. Zhu Yunk immediately understood what Zhang Yi meant, and the scene in the Azure hell she just saw made her hair stand on end. Let's go, we don't have time to waste here. There are so many poor people in the world, how can I care about them? Zhang Yi raised his gun and fired it into the sky. It immediately attracted the attention of a group of people. The combat uniforms they wore were too conspicuous, and you could tell they were people on the ship at a glance. Smart people immediately came over and begged, "Please take us away. I'm from Huaxu country. Look at my accent, how pure it is. In the time of the Japanese lord, Huazu Go-Ren, my uncle, give me Zhao for me. Mine, the work of the Huaxu people." In order to get on the ship, a group of foreigners also showed their talents. Many of them knew a little bit of Chinese, but they used it to communicate, and they could tell the difference at a glance. Chapter 812 My rules are rules. Zhang Yi said coldly, "Get out of the way, we will discuss your matters slowly, after we get on the boat." But those people are not stupid either. They will not leave without Zhang Yi's promise. "No, you have to promise us first, and take us away. We don't want to stay on this island for a second. It's hell on earth." Zhang Yi saw that some people in the crowd were even ready to make a move, and their ferocious eyes told him to kill many people. A sneer appeared on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. "It looks like some guys want to hold them hostage and seize the ship." Zhu Yunk and others were behind Zhang Yi, looking confused and not knowing what to do. Zhu Yunk murmured, "There are too many of these people, and the Jimfeng cannot take them away at all. Otherwise." She didn't finish the second half of the sentence. "Otherwise, according to her style of doing things, she would really take these people away." As for the people in the Yanliu group, they were extremely happy that they followed Zhang Yi and left the cave. "There are so many people in front of us, and no one is willing to take them with them if they want to leave." Zhang Yi took out the pistol from his waist. He didn't say anything nonsense and pointed at the foreign devils who just pretended to be Huaxu people. Bang, bang, and fired twice. The first shot killed was the guy from Neon. There were people dead in front of them, and a look of fear finally appeared on the faces of the refugees. "I'll say it one last time, get out of the way." All the crew members understood, directly picked up the submachine gun, and deliberately pulled the bolt with a click. As long as Zhang Yi gives the order, they will shoot without hesitation and kill everyone who blocks the way. Some people standing in front of Zhang Yi and the others backed away in fear, and a road slowly appeared. Zhang Yi stepped forward, and suddenly the group of people around him knelt down with a plop. "Please, save us. If we stay here, we'll all die, for God's sake." A blonde woman begged with tears in her eyes and a sad face. Zhang Yi turned a deaf ear. He was not very interested in this kind of thing. A man kept kowtowing. "I know there are too many people for you to take care of. Can you let my child on the boat? He is only 8 years old, and he still has a bright future." Zhang Yi led the Yanliu group and walked forward among the people who were kneeling and worshipping. The strange thing is that Zhang Yi has become numb in the face of these pitiful moral kidnappings. "Oh, I felt this way before. When he still lived in Ulu community, those neighbors who had stabbed him also begged him." Zhang Yi was indifferent, but Zhu Yunk had never experienced such a battle. This eldest lady lives in Blizzard City even after the end of the world. The biggest worries are probably not being able to eat fresh vegetables and not being able to use the latest cosmetics. A woman from Huaxu State was holding a child in her arms. Seeing Zhu Yunk's unbearable expression, she moved her knees forward as if she had grasped the last straw of hope. A crew member immediately pointed a gun at her. "What do you want to do?" The woman did not dare to move forward, so she could only hold the child up high and beg Zhu Yunk in tears, "For the sake of our compatriots, save my child." Zhu Yunk couldn't bear it anymore. She pulled Zhang Yi's sleeve. "Okay." Zhang Yi turned around and looked at her with a very cold look. Zhu Yunk gritted his teeth and said, "At the very least, take our compatriots away. There should be room on the ship, and it won't be a problem to accommodate hundreds of people." Zhu Yunk's words were heard by the people around him, and they immediately shouted, as if they saw their only hope. "I'm from Huaxu country. I'm from Huaxu country. Compatriot, take me away." Huaxu people should help each other, shouldn't they? Zhang Yi frowned. He has never been abroad in his life, and has not had many contacts with foreigners. But he was not fooled either. Could it be that those who tricked him were all foreigners? He saw the mother and son. Although the mother was a little haggard, he could still tell that her charm was still there. Among the people who come to Yanliu Island for vacation, whether they are Huaxu people or expatriates, how many of them are not people who were once pampered? Zhang Yi is not a cold-blooded animal, but what he cares most about is his own interests. If he had to take these people away, it would undoubtedly add some trouble to him. And he has always been a trouble-hating person. At this time, someone in the crowd took the lead and sang the national anthem of Huaxu Kingdom. Slowly, loud singing sounded throughout the port. Their expressions were tired, but their voices were high-pitched, and their eyes were all looking at Zhang Yi, full of hope and pleading. A group of foreigners were also among them, opening their mouths and pretending they could sing. The funniest thing is a group of blonde foreigners also pretending to be there. Zhang Yi was thoughtful, and it was not impossible to bring some people back. According to the previous discussion with ZHU Zeng, some people should be brought back to supplement the labor force in Xianhe City. After taking these people back, you only need to give them a few full meals, which are high quality and cheap. But he couldn't really take away so many people. Zhao Ke saw the hesitation in Zhang Yi's heart and came over and said, "Take the citizens of Huaxu Kingdom back. Xianhe City's population is now declining, and several major bases also need to increase their manpower. Keeping them is still useful." Zhao Ke understands Zhang Yi's thoughts best. He never does anything thankless. There is a good reason for this. So Zhang Yi nodded. Indeed, Xianhe City needs a group of labor force now. So he said to ZHU Yunk, "For your sake, I can take the people from Huaxu Kingdom back." This was the first time Zhang Yi listened to ZHU Yunk's advice, and she was extremely happy. Like a child who got candy, he shouted happily, "All citizens of Huaxu Kingdom come here to report." Zhang Yi shouted, "Everyone must be inspected and confirmed to be a Huaxu citizen before they can board the ship. You must obey all arrangements after boarding the ship, otherwise you will be rushed off directly." There was great joy among the crowd. The citizens of Huaxu Kingdom wept with joy and smiled all over their faces. But most of the people on the island are foreigners, and they are not happy. Someone pointed at Bayemo and the Rock Flow group and shouted, "Then why is he also a foreigner and he can get on the boat? This is not fair." Yes, it's not fair. A group of people found a breakthrough and quickly followed suit. Bayemo was so frightened that he ran over and hugged his thigh. "Oh, Mr. Zhang, I'm from Huaxu, a spiritual country. I can swear to the god I believe in. I will change my nationality immediately after I return." Zhang Yi couldn't help laughing. He glanced at the jeers and sneered, "Fairness? What is that? Do you think I'm here to talk to you about fairness? If you have the ability, let people from your own country come to save you instead of screaming here." The crowd became more and more chaotic, and the dissatisfaction of the foreigners could no longer be controlled. Among the crowd, several foreign men slowly walked towards Zhang Yi, and then suddenly pointed their guns at Zhang Yi and several people around him and shot them. But the bullet was like a mud cow entering the sea, without a trace of ripples. Zhang Yi didn't even look at them. He drew his gun with both hands, and fired quickly among the crowd. Bang, 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 bang. Shooting in a dense crowd is extremely dangerous, and can easily cause accidental injuries. But this kind of thing does not exist for Zhang Yi. Chapter 813 Screening. At 1. Zhang Yi directly emptied the magazine and killed all the gunmen in the crowd with headshots. Not just the people who fired the shots, but also the people who made him feel bad. There is no shortage of murderers on the island. At least 1/3 of all people here have killed someone with their own hands. Regardless of whether they planned to attack Zhang Yi and kill them, Zhang Yi didn't feel guilty at all. All the crewmen raised their guns on alert. Zhang Yi changed the magazine with one hand, holding another 40 rounds of ammunition. Anyone else have an opinion? No one dared to have an opinion. Zhang Yi's ability made everyone think they had seen Superman. There are indeed some people on the island who have awakened supernatural powers, so they have a certain understanding of it. It's just that they have never seen a stranger as powerful and terrifying as Zhang Yi. Everyone stepped aside timidly, no longer daring to block Zhang Yi's path. Zhang Yi led people to the port. he said to Lao Shan. Strictly observe the standards, and don't let a guy who is not from the Huaxu country get on the ship. Lao Shan scratched his head. Mr. Zhang, how can we confirm whether they are from Huaxu country? It may be difficult for them to take out their ID cards now. You figure out your own way. Zhang Yi said nonchalantly. If he is required to make decisions at all times, then what do you, the subordinates, do? Zhang Yi asked the Yan Liu group to go to the deck first. The room for them had been prepared long ago and was on the second floor below the cabin. The space is not large, but it is more than enough to accommodate them and ensure basic survival. Lao Shan called over a few crew members and started recruiting new ones on the spot. Everyone should line up in 2 teams and come here one by one. Those who are not from Huaxu country can leave early. Stop wasting time here. Lao Shan shouted with a loudspeaker and then said to several crew members, this is the easiest time to cause chaos. If anyone jumps over the wall in a hurry, don't hold back, just beat him to death. The crew sneered and nodded. This kind of scene is just a small scene to them. When the apocalypse came, the fighting at Chaoyu Harbor became even more fierce in order to survive. Soon, 2 long queues formed at the port. Zhang Yi did not get on the boat, but watched from behind to avoid trouble here. He took out 2 sofa seats from another space and asked Zhao Ke to sit next to him. The 2 of them ate melon seeds and watched the show. Zhu Young did not receive such treatment. She snorted softly and stood aside with her arms folded. She looked a bit like a serving girl for 2 people. After sensing something was wrong, she walked aside again. The 2 long teams were filled with people of all kinds, and no one wanted to miss this opportunity. Even if you are not from Huaxu country, you still plan to give it a try. The first person who came for the interview walked up to Lao Shan. Lao Shan stared. Palace Liquor. The man was stunned for a moment, and then quickly replied, 180 cups. Lao Shan smiled and raised his thumb. Passed. Let's wait on the deck. The man was so excited that he almost fainted on the spot and quickly boarded the ship. When the people behind him saw this, they immediately started chattering, as if they understood the test questions. Nothing else, just to temporarily make up for the common sense of Huaxu Kingdom. Another person came. Lao Shan, what is a gathering of heroes? The man quickly smiled and said, what a gathering of heroes. I think it's a meeting of carrots. So this person passed smoothly. He glanced back a little awkwardly, made a victory sign, and then hurriedly boarded the ship along the gangway. When passing Zhang Yi and others, he lowered his head and bowed politely to express his gratitude to Zhang Yi. The crew's daily fun is to play these games, watch movies and TV series, or listen to the radio, so there are many activities. And it can also ensure that it will not be repeated. Let me ask you, under what circumstances does 1 + 1 = 3? This, what's the problem? In front of him was an unshaven man, who looked confused when he heard the question. Lao Shan glared. I can tell at a glance that you are not a human being. Oh no, you are not from Huaxu country, just go and have fun. The man was anxious. No, brother, uncle. Listen to my accent, I'm an authentic Cantonese. Lao Shan snorted coldly. What's wrong with people from Eastern Guangdong? Can people from Eastern Guangdong stop watching the Spring Festival Gala? If you can't answer the questions, you can't get on the boat. The man wanted to cry, but had no tears. It's not a sin not to watch the Spring Festival Gala. Of course Lao Shan knew that this guy was from the Huaxu country. In terms of accent, few foreigners could have such standard pronunciation. Okay, you go up. The man burst into tears of gratitude and hurriedly ran to the boat, as if he was afraid that Lao Shan would regret it. Next was a thin, monkey-like young man with a strange accent. Hello boss, I'm from the Huaxu country. I'm an authentic Huaxu countryman. Look, I still have my ID card. Can you let me in? Lao Shan took the ID card and looked at it. There were 3 words Jinzayangte written on it. He stared at Jinzayangte for a few times. But why do you look like a Silla person? And your accent is a bit strange. Jinzayangte panicked and quickly explained. No, I'm not from Silla. I'm a native of Zhejiang, and my accent comes from eating mutton skewers. Lao Shan touched his chin and suddenly asked, what kind of hair oil did you use? Sidangkang. I use Sidangkang. Jin Sangtae replied quickly. Lao Shan laughed. I also use Sidang Kang. Okay, you go up. The thin monkey nodded and bowed almost to the ground. Thank you boss for the 100 passes. But at this moment, someone suddenly shouted from behind in Silla language. He is not from Huaxu. He is from Silla. He is from Silla. They are all fake. He is a liar. We cannot let him on the ship. Jin Xiangtae looked back and saw that it was his old friend Cu Izaheo. Jin Xiangtae said contemptuously, look, I have the ID card of Huaxu Kingdom. Huaxu Kingdom is my favorite. When I asked you to come with me, you didn't agree. Do you regret it now? Cu Izaheo's face flushed with anger, and his temperature suddenly rose. Zibaleoma, Shakit, Chinese is so difficult to learn, I can't learn it. Jin Xiangtae suddenly opened his eyes. Where is it difficult to learn? Where is it difficult to learn? It has always been like this. It is said that learning Chinese is difficult. Why don't you think about whether you have studied hard and improved your Chinese level over the years, instead of regretting it when you use it now? Cu Izaheo was so angry that he almost turned into a red temperature gas tank. But he could only watch Jin Xiangtae boarding the ship triumphantly, because they knew how powerful Zhang Yi and others were, and because Zhang Yi was so ruthless that he would immediately pull out his gun and kill someone if they disagreed. The overall order at the scene was relatively peaceful. Even if some people were identified as foreigners, the most they would do was kneel down, kowtow, cry and roll around. But this approach has no effect. This group of people in Xianhai City have seen hells that are much more brutal than them, so no one will be soft-hearted. Chapter 814 The Black Dragon is also a dragon. The process of screening people to board the ship was relatively peaceful overall, but something went wrong until I met a baby mother. A woman came with a child. She did pass Lao Shan's test, and Lao Shan agreed to let her board the ship. However, Lao Shan stopped her child and refused to let him go up. The woman immediately burst into tears and started crying and making trouble at the port. I'm from Huaxu country. Look, I'm not from Huaxu country from beginning to end. Why don't you let me get on the ship? Lao Shan said coldly, Madam, you are from the Huaxu country. But the child you brought up is treating us all as fools, right? Zhang Yi also looked over curiously. When he saw the result, he immediately laughed. The woman was accompanied by a child, 7 or 8 years old, who looked very healthy. Her big eyes looked innocently at the people around her, not knowing what she had done wrong. However, his chocolate-colored complexion clearly does not match the characteristics of Asians. Lao Shan said, Don't treat us all as fools. How can your child have this kind of skin color? We have said that only Huaxu people are allowed to board the ship. Even if you are an overseas Chinese, I will tolerate it. You are fooling me. Woolen cloth. When the woman heard this, she suddenly became emotional. I didn't lie. He is really my child, the child born to me and Morian. At this time, the eyes of Lao Shan and several crew members, including Zhang Yi, changed. I originally thought it was just a woman carrying personal goods and bringing a foreign child on board. But now it seems that she married a foreign husband and gave birth to a mixed-race child. This kind of thing made everyone who had boarded the ship and watched the excitement couldn't help but talk about it. This freedom of marriage, it's hard to comment. It's just that it's not very acceptable to me. Zhang Yi stood up, walked over and waved to the woman. Sorry, I won't accept you and your children on my ship. Leave. The woman's eyes widened when she saw this, and she looked at Zhang Yi in disbelief. But I'm from the Huaxu Kingdom. So is my son. Aren't you a rescue ship sent by the Huaxu Kingdom? Why don't you let us on board? She was so scared that she was trembling all over. Originally, it was just her son who could not get on the ship, but now she was not even qualified. She is afraid. Among the crowd, a tall man who looked exactly like Will Smith came out. He was the woman's husband, Morian. Hi, man, what's up? What you're doing is wrong. I firmly protest. Zhang Yi sneered and said, Can you get out? This is my boat, and I will let whoever I want on board. Morian looked a little embarrassed, but, my wife and children are both Huaxu nationalities, they are your compatriots. As soon as these words came out, the scene exploded. Zhang Yi's expression suddenly changed. This damn is your uncle's compatriot. All the Chinese people present were shouting curses. Asshole, don't talk nonsense here. Who is a compatriot with you? It's just an ID card and a household registration book. We have no connection by blood. Don't be disgusting. Women seem to want to try harder. She patted her baby. The child looked very smart. He stepped forward and read an article. I love my motherland loudly. I, Chocolate, was born in Huaxu, and I love my motherland. Don't doubt my sincere heart, just because of my appearance. Black Dragon Surreal Sodragons. Zhang Yi felt his stomach churning, and he felt like vomiting now. There were people on the ship who couldn't stand it anymore. Marvin was lying on the edge of the boat and shouted, "Little Heezy, you don't belong to Huaxu country. This is not the place you should come." Chocolate suddenly became anxious, and he also knew that this ship was their hope for survival. So he pointed at Ma Wenzheng on the boat and shouted angrily, "It's you who should get out." However, some people hold different opinions. For example, the previous Muang dog Andy Zhao. He pushed up his glasses and said with a look of concern for the country and the people, "He is a child after all. No matter where his father is from, his mother is from Huaxu." Seeing the looks from around him, he explained generously, "Historically speaking, the Huaxu nation is a large integrated nation. Historically, we had Kunlun slaves. I think we may not be unable to accept them." Chocolate's mother is still begging Zhang Yi, "Please give us equal treatment. We are Huaxu people. You can't discriminate against us. This is wrong." Zhang Yi touched his nose. "Actually, my cultural level is not very high. My ideological consciousness is not that strong either." He looked at the woman married to a foreigner with a smile, pointed at her and her child and said, "I simply hate people like you. So don't even think about boarding my ship today." The woman pointed at Zhang Yi and almost lost her breath. You bully people. Wow." She actually burst into tears in front of everyone. "You're such a bully. It's not fair. Why don't you let us on the ship? Where are we not complying with the regulations?" Zhang Yi laughed and said, "No, you are in compliance with the regulations. But I just won't let you get on the boat. What can you do?" Zhang Yi leaned down to look at her in a mean manner. "Are you angry?" He is too lazy to reason with such mentally ill people and prefers to play straight. The woman was holding the child and crying loudly. When Morian saw this, he knew that he had lost hope and shook his head helplessly. Then he ignored his wife and children and disappeared silently into the crowd. Originally, he and the woman had agreed that after the woman got on the boat, she would secretly find a way to throw the rope down and let him climb up. Now that there is no chance, he is unwilling to bear this burden. As before, he decided to get rid of both baggage. The woman and Chocolate cried heartbreakingly at the port. Some people couldn't stand it anymore and stretched out their hands to pull the women and children away. The woman slapped the ground and shouted, "I won't leave until I leave." The people around were impatient and said, "Go ahead and do what you like. Don't block our way. We are still waiting to get on the boat. It's not the past." She could hold Zhang Yi's head and cry for a while here, and then she could morally kidnap Zhang Yi. Everyone is very busy and has too much time to take care of themselves. How could they care to watch her acting up and making jokes here? This will only make people feel annoying. However, when the woman made such a fuss, a new round of chaos began at the scene. Because during this process, someone really showed compassion for the child. This rekindled hope in some people's hearts. A blonde woman with blue eyes came over holding a child and walked directly in front of Zhang Yi. Her face had lost all hope of life and was as numb as a cold puppet. "Can you save the child? He is still young, and I don't want him to end his life like this. It doesn't matter if I die, as long as my son can survive." Chapter 815. You are high, you are amazing. Zhang Yi looked down at the baby in her arms. His skin was as white and tender as ice and snow. The way he slept quietly and breathed softly was so pitiful. In Zhang Yi's mind, he couldn't help but think that when the end of the world had just arrived, he had come into contact with such a young child. That's Zilimu's daughter. At first, she used Uncle Yu's compassion to survive, but was eventually dealt with by Zhang Yi. In the end, her daughter did not survive and froze to death on a snowstorm night. When people saw this scene, they all couldn't bear it. The protection of young children is a biological instinct. Save the child. At least let the child live. It's just a child. It doesn't require much food from you. Give the child a chance. The crowd on the shore began to shout loudly. Various languages express the same emotions. Seeing this, some parents came over with their children in their arms and looked at Zhang Yi with pleading eyes. Zhang Yi's eyes showed a look of reminiscence. He missed his hometown and the prosperous days. They are all gone with time. If it hadn't been for the end of the world, many children in Qianhe City would have lived happily. He raised his head and looked at the mother. Thank you for reminding me that children are the hope of the future. The mother's numb eyes gradually lit up. Then, my child will. Zhang Yi continued, so after I go back, I plan to donate some materials to my hometown city for children who live in poverty. The mother was stunned on the spot, and no one else expected Zhang Yi to be so hard-hearted. Hey, are you still a man? Are you just refusing to save me? A bearded man shouted angrily. You don't care about us adults. You can even watch a child fall into despair. Are you still a human being? One Britannian man shook his head. How come the men of Huaxu country don't even have the basic gentlemanly spirit? This is really hateful. A group of people were ignited and angrily denounced Zhang Yi, feeling that he was too cold-blooded and ruthless. Zhu Yang couldn't help but step forward. She looked at the infant child and said to Zhang Yi, otherwise, take the children away. They are the hope of the future. The world is not over yet. Children are tomorrow. This lady said it well. Children are tomorrow. If you live without children, will humanity still have a future? Someone immediately applauded Zhu Yang's words. The voice came from the ship, and the speaker was the fake foreigner Zhang Yi. He lay on the railing angrily, slapping his chest with one hand. Save the child. Don't be such a cold-blooded person, he said, encouraging those around him to shout along. Children are innocent. Children are innocent. Many people were infected by Zhang Yi's voice and shouted to Zhang Yi in unison, the child is innocent. Save the child. They looked at Zhang Yi with indignation, feeling that Zhang Yi's heart was too cold and hard, almost devoid of humanity. And this practice of condemning Zhang Yi together made them feel that their souls had been sublimated and their qualities had become noble. Even if these people had eaten white meat not so long ago. But they always like to be lenient with themselves and strict with others. Zhang Yi didn't expect this group of people to enjoy the excitement so much. He couldn't help but think of the neighbors in Yulu community. They have really experienced desperate situations. So although they are cruel, they at least understand the humility that humans should have. But these guys in front of them lack the basic respect for life. They have been on the island for a long time, and they don't seem to understand what the world has become. Zhu Yang whispered, take the children with you. They won't take up much space. They also have little food. A sneer appeared at the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth, and he put his hands in his pockets. He turned to stare at Zhu Yang and asked, oh, it's so simple. There are so many people here, not to mention too many children. There are hundreds of them. Many of them are children aged 2 or 3, and there are even infants. Will you take care of them? Do you know how troublesome it is to take care of them? The sea voyage takes 2 months, and you will be exhausted just taking care of so many children. Besides, even if it can be saved, why should I save it? Zhang Yi said loudly. This sentence made many people glare at him. Zhang Yi ignored it and continued. The city I live in has a population of 2,000 million. Let's not talk about such a big child. There are always hundreds of thousands, right? But what about after the end of the world? How many of them survive? The total should not exceed 100. Who cares about their life and death? Oh no, who has the ability to control their life and death? Zhang Yi sneered again and again. In the land of Huaxu Kingdom, there are still many people living on the line of life and death. If I have the ability, then why don't I give priority to saving my compatriots? He pointed to the baby in the mother's arms. Yes, he is very pitiful. He is about to die at such a young age. But what does that have to do with me? What obligation do I have to help him? It's better to use the extra thought of caring about others to help the compatriots around me. Zhang Yi on the boat shouted, this is all your excuse. Since you have the ability, why not save more people? Do you know that if possible, we would rather leave the chance of giving birth to our children? Zhang Yi originally didn't want to talk to this loser, but after hearing these words, he slowly turned his head and stared at Zhao Yi with a smile. "Is that what you said?" Zhao Yi was glanced at by Zhang Yi and instantly felt chills from head to soul. He just wanted to highlight his gentlemanly and noble character and let everyone look up to him, so he deliberately went against Zhang Yi. But, how many people has Zhang Yi killed? A stupid dog like Zhao Yi, he has personally killed several reinforcement. The sight sent shivers down his spine. Clap clap clap. Zhang Yi clapped his hands and said approvingly, "Good, very good, very good. I admire people like you who are full of benevolence, justice and morality. Since you are so noble and amazing, then I will give you this opportunity." Zhang Yi winked at the crew on the ship. Immediately, a crew member walked over and held Zhao Yi down. Andy Zhao panicked. "What are you going to do? Let me go, let me go." The crew members were full of mockery. "Subi, who do you think you are talking to? Our captain is the famous devil king of Huaxu Kingdom. If you mess with him, you will be dead." With that said, he pressed Zhao Yi directly and walked under the boat. Zhang Yi said, "Since you are upright and willing to sacrifice yourself to save others, the beauty of a gentleman and an adult, of course I will give you this opportunity. Now, just get off the boat. But I can also fulfill your wish and help you save a child." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 816. The appearance of all beings at the port. At Zhang Yi's signal, Zhu Yang hurriedly took the child from his mother's arms. A smile appeared on the woman's face. She reluctantly glanced at her child for the last time, then waved her hand to say goodbye. "We can never meet again in this life. My child, you must grow up well and live well." She had no other wishes, and left here slowly point like a walking corpse, waiting for the demise of its own life. It was only when Andy Zhao was pushed off the boat that he started to panic. Wait a minute, I didn't mean that. I just said that I can help take care of the children. Mr. Zhang, there's no need to be like this. I'm just kidding. I'm really just talking. Before, he thought it was okay when he followed the riot, thinking that the law would not punish the public, so he yelled loudly. But when disaster befalls him, he admits his mistake faster than anyone else. It's a pity that he didn't have the chance. Zhang Yi didn't even look at him. He just said with a smile, "What a kind and good man." He looked at the crowd and said these words for everyone present. "I know, some people just thought I was too cruel and showed no mercy at all. I'm really sorry. The resources on our ship are limited. It takes more than 3,000 kilometers to return to Huaxu Kingdom from here. We really can't bring too many people with us." He stood aside and pointed to his side. "But don't say that I don't know how to adapt. Now, if there is any upright person who is willing to give up the opportunity to board the ship to those poor children, I will definitely agree with it. Come on, whoever has this plan, come to me now, immediately. All the Huaxu people in line closed their mouths. Some people on the ship have learned from the past and dare not follow in the booing again. They watched Andy Zhao being thrown off the boat. Then he knelt on the ground and begged Zhang Yi like a dog to forgive him, saying that he was wrong. But Zhang Yi didn't look at him again. So annoying, stupid dog. The crew member thought Andy Zhao was too noisy, so he gave him the butt of a gun and knocked him unconscious. When the parents with their children saw this, they went to beg the Huaxu people in the team. "Lee, we have been friends for many years. Please help me and let Selena live. Go away, I will die if she lives. We just work together. Who is your good friend?" "Zhao, I can give you all my money. I just ask you to give me your spot. Go to hell, ha ha ha. What I hate the most is your proud face. Seeing you die makes me happier than anyone else." All living beings appeared on the harbor. As a result, everyone just talks about benevolence, justice and morality. But once they need to pay for their own tickets, they are stingier than anyone else. Let alone these foreign friends. Even if their biological father comes, they may not be willing to exchange. Zhang Yi said to Zhu Yang, who was taking care of the children next to him. Look, these people are like this, and the outside world is like this too. Just get used to it, but there is no need to be kind to them. Zhu Young was speechless, but held the baby in her arms tightly, her eyes full of tenderness. Zhang Yi just shrugged. Zhu Young is too naive, but she will soon pay the price for her youth. He didn't want to simply evaluate whether Zhu Young was a good woman or a bad woman. Perhaps out of motherhood, she has her kind side. It's just that this kind of good quality is really bad in the end of the world. Zhang Yi said in his heart, you should be grateful that you have a good uncle, otherwise you would be the first person I throw into the sea to feed the fish. Although Zhang Yi didn't like Zhu Young's way of doing things, for Zhu Zheng's sake, he still had to take care of Zhu Young's ideas. As Zhao Ke said, when beating a dog, it depends on the owner. Even if Zhang Yi doesn't care about having Zhu Young as a friend, he at least doesn't want her as an enemy. Never mess with a woman, especially a woman with a background. She is very vindictive and can hold a grudge against you for the rest of her life. Zhao Ke smiled and analyzed it from a woman's perspective to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi felt that Zhu Young should be taught a lesson to cure her boring kindness. He looked at the child in Zhu Young's arms and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. I believe it won't be long before Zhu Young will suffer for his actions. That must be very interesting. After more than an hour of investigation, it was finally discovered that there were more than 200 Huaxu people on Yanliu Island. Of course, there are also expats among them, but it is no different to Zhang Yi now. All he needs is a batch of labor force brought to Xianhe City, and a simple screening is enough. These people were only allowed to board the ship after careful inspection to confirm that no one was carrying weapons or communication equipment. More than 200 people are not that many, but the living space in the cabin seems crowded. Zhang Yi didn't care about it. As long as we can give them a place to live, that would be great. I don't believe they dare to be picky. Everyone got on the boat. Zhang Yi first asked Lao Shan to give them a good lesson and tell them about the rules on the boat. All the rules can be summed up in one: obey the orders of the captain Mr. Zhang and the crew unconditionally. If anyone dares to openly contradict, they will be thrown directly into the sea to feed the sharks. The living area of the cabin is divided into 3 floors and 4 standards. The top floor is the living area for Zhang Yi and the crew. Zhang Yi and Zhao Ke have the best living area. The captain's bedroom has sufficient heating and hot water supply. The independent room is more than 50 square meters, which is very luxurious. Followed by Zhu Young and the crew. They live on the same floor as Zhang Yi. Zhu Young and Lao Shan have single rooms, while the crew members have standard 2-person rooms. The room is not particularly spacious, but it is warm and comfortable. The 3rd level, located in the middle level of the cabin, is where the people of the Rock Flow group live. The environment here is a bit crowded. 7 or 8 people are crowded into a narrow room, and they are not divided into men and women. They allocate rooms by themselves. If the distribution is uneven, only men and women can live together. At this time, there will be less talk about respecting privacy. The 4th level is located on the lower level of the cabin. The other Huaxu nationals and overseas Chinese who were brought back lived at the bottom of the Jinfeng. This was originally a utility room, but it was cleared out and temporarily became their residence. This place is much more spacious. It can accommodate 30 people in a large house. There is no separate area for men and women, but a simple bathroom is provided. Bathing is basically impossible, but basic heating can be guaranteed. Although it won't be too hot, it won't freeze to death. Thanks to the development of advanced technology, they are not required to provide labor for the navigation of ships. Therefore, they are also required not to leave their area and go to the upper space. People crowded into the Jinfeng and then came to their respective living environments. After putting down their luggage and getting their own beds, they finally let go of their worries. Finally gotta get out of this damn place. On the other side of the sea, life must be very good. People who don't know what the outside world is like are naively holding on to expectations. Chapter 817. Bravely take responsibility. +1. Zhang Yi called Lao Shan to the captain's room. There are more than 200 people down there. Can you manage them? Zhang Yi asked directly. He usually hates trouble the most, so he is too lazy to take care of such things personally. Lao Shan will definitely take care of the trivial matters for him. Lao Shan chuckled. Don't worry, Mr. Zhang. I have been at sea for so many years, and I have seen all kinds of crew members. I have managed bigger ships and more people. There won't be any trouble. It's just... He hesitated. Zhang Yi looked at his strange look and asked with a smile, if you have anything to say, just tell me. Lao Shan said frankly, these people on the boat look like they have extraordinary status. They were all high-ranking officials in the past. Maybe some people will jump out and cause trouble after living a comfortable life for a few days. I, Lao Shan, don't care about them. I just don't know if it will cause any trouble to you. Zhang Yi sneered. There's no trouble. You can pack it up as you like. If necessary, he pointed to the gun on Lao Shan's waist. Don't spare the bullets, just empty the magazine. If anyone dares to be dishonest after getting on the boat, Zhang Yi doesn't mind throwing their bodies into the sea to feed the sharks. After all, human life is worthless now. When Lao Shan heard Zhang Yi's words, he immediately felt more at ease. A cruel smile appeared on his lips, and he subconsciously reached behind him to touch his whip. He has a good way of teaching those ignorant guys. Otherwise, how do you think the managers treated the slaves and workers at Cheoyu base? Set the boat. It's time for us to go back. Zhang Yi turned around and returned to the cabin. Lao Shan licked his chapped lips with a wicked smile on his face. He likes to train those self-righteous big shots. At this time, a crew member came over and said something in his ear. Do you want to tell the captain? Asked the crew. Lao Shan frowned. Let the captain handle everything. What do you want us to do? We can just do this kind of thing ourselves. He came to the edge of the hull, leaned on the railing and looked down. At this time, a strange scene appeared on the edge of the Jinfeng. There were many hooks hanging on the hull of the boat, and each refugee was like a grasshopper on a rope, struggling to climb onto the boat. And some windows below are open, ready to receive them. Are you playing this trick with me? Hehehe. Lao Shan had a smile on his face, but he looked like a devil. When those people below saw that they had been discovered, their faces instantly turned pale. Lao Shan pulled out his submachine gun and pointed it at the stowaways. Da 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 da. Wails sounded outside the Golden Front, but they were quickly swallowed up by the cold north wind. Those who tried to hitch a ride were shot into the sea. Those on the ship, who were preparing to respond, did not wait for the stowaways. They only saw blood raining down outside, and then corpses fell into the cold sea. What? Several women screamed in terror. Others in the cabin had a gloomy look on their faces. The people on this ship are too cruel. Someone couldn't help but say. As soon as he said this, someone immediately gave him a sharp look, signaling him not to talk nonsense. The man shut up quickly. After all, Andy Zell's example was right in front of him. No one knows who will be kicked off the ship next. After setting sail, the only way to disembark is to be thrown into the sea, where you will surely die. Someone cautiously went to the entrance to look for the wind. When they saw that there were no crew members nearby, they breathed a sigh of relief. As for the Ganryu group, since it is a room for 8 people, the space is relatively narrow, but it also gives people the feeling of a group in a private space. Foreigner Bayemo and Silla official Cha Haicheng stayed in the same room. Both of them were on the lower bunk. Listening to the gunshots outside, Bayemo leaned against the cabin, his face full of melancholy. It's too cruel. They are too cruel. They kill people at every turn. What's the difference between them and the bad guys on the island? Would we also be killed on the way? Cha Haicheng came over and said with a smile, you are from Colombia, which is hard to say. It seems that Mr. Zhang doesn't like Colombians very much. Bayemo stared. Oh, God, don't scare me. You have now made me feel like this is a medieval slave ship, and I'm the slave on the ship, and I will be thrown into the sea to feed the sharks at any time. Cha Haicheng smiled evilly and said, who knows? This place is thousands of kilometers away from Huaxu Kingdom. We have to sail for at least a month or 2. Anything can happen on the way. He originally planned to scare Bayemo, but as he spoke, he couldn't help but frown. I hope the voyage goes smoothly, otherwise, if something goes wrong, we will definitely be thrown into the sea. We may even become their supplies. Bayemo's heart became more and more frightened. He hugged his arms tightly, so scared. Why didn't they send someone to rescue me? Did Colombia really abandon its citizens? Zhang Yi returned to the cabin and planned to call Zhang Yi over and have a detailed chat with him about the source of God. There were some things that were not convenient to ask on the island before, but now he would not let go of this opportunity. But as soon as he came back, he met Zhu Yang, who was coming in a hurry. "Mr. Zhang, you are back. Do you have diapers and milk powder here?" Zhang Yi spread his hands. "Do you think I look like someone who owns those things? Of course it's not like that. Zhang Yi is not married and has no children. But in fact he does. But he didn't give it." Zhu Yang's brows wrinkled slightly, with a troubled look on his face. She saw that the child was pitiful before, so she brought him back. But at that time, I acted completely impulsively without considering the consequences. As a result, the child kept crying in her room after she woke up. Only then did she panic. After much thought, she could only go to Zalkea for help. Although Zalkea has no experience in taking care of children, she has been a doctor and has a more delicate mind. After coming over and taking a look at the child, he immediately said, "He is not sick. He is crying, probably because he is hungry or needs to change his diaper." Zhu Yang was stunned. How had she ever taken care of a child? Where do you know how to change a child's diaper? Not to mention there are no diapers on this ship. Zalkea smiled and indicated to her that she could ask Zhang Yi. She knew that Zhang Yi had those things, but whether Zhang Yi would give them to her or not would depend on Zhang Yi's mood. So the next scene happened. Zhu Yang's face was full of tangles. Zhang Yi sighed and then encouraged him with a serious face. "Since you have chosen to take on this responsibility, then keep doing it well. Come on, I support you. I believe you can be a good mother." Chapter 818. It's difficult to raise a baby. Zhang Yi looked sincere, but Zhu Yang couldn't stand it. "Me?" She hesitated, not knowing what to do. "I haven't taken care of children either." Zhang Yi, there has to be a first time for everything. Didn't you say before that children are very easy to take care of? How much trouble can be caused if they eat less and sleep more? He patted Zhu Yang on the shoulder. "I'm optimistic about you. You should take good care of the baby during this period. I will arrange for others to do other things." After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he gave her an encouraging look and then walked away. Zhu Yang was a little at a loss. After thinking for a long time, he finally couldn't come up with an idea. At this time, Zalkea came over from her room and met Zhang Yi face to face. Zhang Yi gave her a weird look, which made Zalkea couldn't help but laugh. Zalkea came to Zhu Yang and said softly, "That child has been crying. Come over and have a look." Zhu Yang stamped her feet anxiously. "I don't know what to do either." Zalkea said helplessly, "Go to the kitchen to get some rice porridge for him to eat. Besides, I saw that his swaddling clothes are all wet. You have to change his diaper quickly." "But where can I find diapers for him?" Zalkea said. "He uses diapers made from rags of clothes. Where can I find the kind of diaper sold in supermarkets now?" While he was talking, Zhang Yi's voice came from behind. "Kenna, come here. There are so many people on the ship. We need to discuss epidemic prevention to prevent infectious diseases on the ship." Zalkea said to Zhu Yang, "You hurry up and do it. I'll go and get busy first." Zhu Yang wanted Zalkea to help him, but Zalkea didn't stay and left with small steps. She gritted her teeth and had no choice but to go to the kitchen and ask the chef to make a bowl of rice porridge for the child. Then it was time to go back and prepare diapers for him. Before anyone even got to the room, they heard the deafening cry, which even penetrated the cabin with good sound insulation. Zhu Yang gritted his teeth and pushed open the door. The child on the bed had cried so hard that his eyes were red and he was screaming. The sheets underneath were soaked with yellow liquid. Zhu Yang turned pale and screamed, "Ah, my sheets." In this weather, it is very difficult to dry the sheets, especially the mattress, which is probably soaked. How can she sleep like this? Zhu Yang complained endlessly, and for the first time, she felt a strong sense of regret. "I shouldn't have accepted this task right away." Originally, she promoted motherly love and suggested to Zhang Yi to take the child with her because she never thought that she needed her to take care of him. There is an old saying that goes well. People with their hands in their pockets are always overconfident. Of course you can talk a lot when you don't have to work on your own. On the contrary, when things really fall on you, you will feel the difficulty of the task. Zhu Yunk's head was getting bigger, but at this moment, he smelled a sour and unpleasant smell. The child not only peed, but also pooped. Anyone who has ever taken care of a child knows how sour and smelly a child's excrement is. However, the room was not big and the heating was on, which made the feeling even more sour. The pampered Miss Zhu retched for a while, ran out of the house, and took a few deep breaths before she regained her composure. However, the crying in the room remained. This room is not far from Zhang Yi's room, and the sound can be heard. Zhu Yunk suddenly became angry when she thought that she would be ridiculed by others if she could not take care of her children. I don't believe I can't take care of a child. She was mentally prepared, then opened the door and rushed in. Changing diapers can be an extremely difficult task, especially for newbies. The diaper used by that child is called Jizi in the Huangsu dialect. There is no waterproof function. It is just a few layers of coarse cloth, and then stuffed under the child's buttocks. As soon as Zhu Yunk took advantage of it, his hands immediately felt wet. She screamed again. This time, she cried with a child. Just changing a diaper made her feel hugely humiliated. But Zhang Yi, who heard the crying next door, smiled happily. He sat on the sofa, elegantly drinking stocking milk tea, and then said to Zhao Ke, "Guess how long it will take for her to change her diaper today?" Zhao Ke couldn't help but tilted his head and thought for a while, then shook his head vigorously. "I think it's too suspenseful." She had seen friends raising children before, and it even gave her a fear of pregnancy. That's not a little angel, he's a little devil. He can drive a sane adult crazy. When you change a diaper, the moment you open it and see something yellow and white, you will have the urge to ascend to heaven. Anyway, Zhao Ke asked her to do it, and it would take some time to get used to it. This is based on the premise that Zhao Ke has worked in a hospital and has strong psychological quality. Zhang Yi shrugged, then let's wait and see. After all, she picked it. Idle. Leo Zhu said that letting Zhu Yunk come out this time would also give her a long experience and understand the difficulties of life in the outside world. Zhang Yi was still thinking about what he should do to make her realize clearly. As a result, Zhu Yunk took on a big burden for himself. Zhang Yi almost died laughing when he saw Zhu Yunk holding the child. Zhang Yi did not intend to help Zhu Yunk with the problem. He also told Zhao Ke and others on the ship not to help Zhu Yunk. The main thing was to do the work he contracted himself. And he left the cabin and went down to the area where the people from the Rockflow group lived. When he came over, several people in the cabin were whispering. When they saw Zhang Yi, they were so frightened that they quickly shut up and then greeted him with a fawning smile. "Hi Mr. Zhang." Zhang Yi asked, "Where is Li Zhangyu? Let him come to see me." Someone immediately went to look for Li Zhangyu. Soon Li Zhangyu trotted to Zhang Yi. "Mr. Zhang, look for me." Zhang Yi said, "Come with me, there is something I want to talk to you about." "Hey, good." Li Zhangyu agreed without any hesitation with a smile. He had already been prepared in his mind. After all, the secret he kept was the purpose of Jiangnan region sending people thousands of kilometers away to rescue them. Zhang Yi took Li Zhangyu to the deck. There was no one else here except them. Li Zhangyu wore a cold-proof down jacket, which could withstand temperatures as low as -20 degrees Celsius. Zhang Yi walked to the railing, leaned on the railing, and asked lightly, "Tell me the story about that stone." Li Zhangyu reached out, took out a stone from his pocket, and slowly handed it to Zhang Yi. It was a yellow stone, somewhat like Qianhuang stone, and it looked ordinary on the surface. But the first time Zhang Yi saw it, he felt his DNA move. Chapter 819 Elsewhere. Living things have instincts inherited from their ancestors. It's engraved in their DNA. The moment Zhang Yi saw the yellow stone, his genes were jumping for joy, as if he had discovered something that his genes were longing for. Is this the source of God? Zhang Yi glanced at Li Zhangyu, then calmly reached out and took the stone. He could feel that there was still a trace of strange power left in it, but there was not much left. "Where did you get this thing?" Li Zhangyu smiled. "Sorry, I can't tell you yet. You have to ensure that I and the people around me get ashore safely." Zhang Yi smiled playfully. That's it. He raised the stone in his hand and pointed it at the pale sun in the sky, but he could see nothing. Zhang Yi secretly thought, does this contain the secret to breaking through genetic restrictions? I'm keeping this stone. Do you have any objection? Zhang Yi said, stuffing the stone into his pocket. Zhang Yi nodded, of course. Zhang Yi nodded, that's good, that's all. I have nothing to do with you. Go back and do your work. Zhang Yi still couldn't believe it on his face. Zhang Yi let him go back so easily. Because in his opinion, Zhang Yi is a very cruel person. Zhang Yi was even prepared to be coerced, lured, or even beaten by Zhang Yi. But Zhang Yi's buoyant attitude made him confused. He didn't know that his secret was not very attractive to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi was just curious, so he asked casually. As for the mysterious source of God, whether it exists or not, and what it is, Zhang Yi really doesn't care that much. He hates trouble. Let Jiangnan region handle the troublesome matters. Maybe he is a good person. Zhang Yi shook his head. Although he didn't know Zhang Yi's character for the time being, Zhang Yi's actions made him have a certain fondness for Zhang Yi. The Jinfeng left the waters of Yanliu Island and began to sail into the deep sea, returning to Huaxu Kingdom along the original route. It took them more than 2 months to come. However, after becoming familiar with the route, the return trip time can be greatly shortened, and it is expected to arrive within 50 days. By then, it was already around November. Nearly a year has passed since the end of the world. Zhang Yi sometimes couldn't help feeling that time was like a fleeting moment, and it was gone. But in the past 6 months, too many things have happened around him. On the Jinfeng, as the number of people increases, management needs to be carried out every day. Lao Shan is responsible for this aspect. Living conditions on board are divided into 4 levels. There is no need for the kitchen to take care of the food at Zhang Yi's side. Zhang Yi prepares his own delicacies. Therefore, the kitchen on the ship must provide meals for various areas below ZHU Yunk. ZHU Yunk and the crew members enjoyed sumptuous food, including chicken, fish, meat and eggs. The 3rd level is a member of the Rockflow group, who can also have a partial supply of protein every day. Although there is less meat, there is some. As for the 4th level, the Huaxu people and expats who were later screened onto the ship, they could only eat 1 meal of meat every 3 days. However, the basic food supply can meet everyone's needs. At the beginning, everyone had no objection to such living conditions. Compared to what they had on Yanliu Island, their food quality had improved a lot. Staying in the cabin every day, apart from being a bit boring, at least allows me to have enough food and clothing. But as the old saying goes, some people can't eat too much. When they are hungry, they only have one worry. After eating, they will have countless worries. Soon, the troublemaker arrived. ZHU Yunk found Zhang Yi and asked to assign Su Nuangxi an independent house. She is also my schoolgirl after all, and she has a somewhat innocent personality. She lives in a mixed room, so I'm worried that something will happen to her. I happen to be too busy taking care of the kids by myself, so I need someone to help me. When Zhang Yi heard this, he immediately laughed. Why, you can live in a cave, but now you can't adapt to a boat. If you ask me, you are just a bitch. ZHU Yunk's expression was somewhat unnatural. In fact, she did this for her own consideration. Only a few days had passed, and she was almost going crazy from being tortured by that baby. However, because of Zhang Yi's instruction, no one on the crew was willing to help her take care of the child. At this time, her attentive schoolgirl ran over and offered to help. In addition, ZHU Yunk was not in a good mood after being at sea for 2 months. Now I finally found someone I could talk to, and I immediately regarded Su Nuangxi as my confidant. Su Nuangxi took the opportunity to propose moving to a separate room above. As her best friend, of course she agreed. It's just a house, and it's not like there are no vacancies above. ZHU Yunk curled her lips unhappily. She looked at Zhang Yi and complained, "You all are unwilling to help me. It's so easy for someone to help me. You still don't agree." Zhang Yi asked back, "There are so many people living down there, and there are many women among them. Why is she the only one who has to be special when others can tolerate it? If I had known that she couldn't stand living together, I would have just thrown her off when we got on the boat." Zhu Young was speechless for a moment and could only look at Zhang Yi with a pleading expression. Zhang Yi, you just treat me as begging you, okay? I really need someone to help me. Zhang Yi thought for a moment and realized that there were indeed many empty rooms on their floor, so it didn't matter if they gave Su Nuangxi a room to prevent Zhu Young from bothering him all day long. Just thinking about that woman's style of doing things, Zhang Yi didn't like it very much. So he said, there is no room available. Everyone is very busy. But there is a utility room for her to live in. Zhu Young said in surprise. Utility room? Isn't that dirty? Zhang Yi sneered. Didn't she think it was unsafe to live together, so she wanted a single room? Isn't that too dirty? She has hands and feet and can clean up by herself. She can't help but love it. No, 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 stay. She stays. Zhu Young quickly agreed. Without Su Nuangxi's help, she wouldn't know how to take care of a child by herself. After getting Zhang Yi's permission, Zhu Young came to the Yanliu group and asked Su Nuangxi to move to the upper floor. When everyone in the Yanliu group heard these words, they all cast envious looks at Su Nuangxi. There were also girls in the group who couldn't help but ask Zhu Young, Ms. Zhu, can we also apply for a separate room? It's not very convenient for us girls to live here with so many people. As long as everything starts, it will lead to unlimited ideas. Zhu Young's expression was a little helpless. I'm afraid this won't work. Su Nuangxi is here to help me take care of Tommy. But we can also help you take care of your children. I don't need that many people. Chapter 820 Trouble. Zhu Young opened such an opening for Su Nuangxi, and immediately the other members of the Yanliu group began to get ready to take action. Especially women like Su Nuangxi want to live in the upper class. Who doesn't know that the conditions there are much better than those at the lower class? But Zhu Young couldn't do this because the boat belonged to Zhang Yi, and God knew how difficult it was for her to ask Zhang Yi. When a group of women heard Zhu Young's rejection, their faces were full of displeasure. Although they did not dare to get angry, they still complained. We are all women. Why do you only take care of her? It's hard for us too. I see there are a lot of empty rooms above. Why not give some to us? If you ask me, those crew members are all big-bodied men. It's best to let them live down there. That's right. When I was studying in college, those men would give us good dormitories. These crew members don't know how to respect women. Zhu Young curled up his hair in embarrassment, not knowing how to respond to these topics. Seeing this, Su Nuangxi came over, hugged her arm, and said to the others, what are you shouting for? It's good enough to take you out of that damn place, but you are still picky? Humph, what is my relationship with my senior sister, and what is your relationship with her? She said with a proud look on her face. And let me tell you, even if the senior doesn't look for Zhang, he still has to arrange a room for me. Do you know who my father and grandfather are? The women in the Yanliu group looked unhappy, but there was nothing they could do about it, because Su Nuangxi's status was really unusual, and many of her family members held important positions in the workplace. Su Nuangxi held Zhu Young's hand proudly. Alice, let's go and leave them alone. Su Nuangxi followed Zhu Young and came to the upper floor happily. Zhu Young took the key and took her to the utility room. When I opened the door, I saw that it was filled with mops, rags and large water pipes. There were even black diesel stains on the wall, and the smell of diesel could be clearly smelled. This, senior, did you get the wrong room? Su Nuangxi looked at Zhu Young with a smile, unable to believe that this was the room assigned to her. Zhu Young said calmly, this is it. This is it. I have discussed it carefully with him. Don't be picky. It's better to live here than to live in Tangpu down there, right? Su Nuangxi's mouth flattened like a duck, feeling aggrieved. People thought you had a say on the ship. Zhu Young began to feel uncomfortable all over. Ahem, of course. My status on the ship is almost the same as Zhang Yi's. It's just that the living conditions are really limited now, so finding this room for you temporarily is already very good. I asked for a mattress and blanket for you, so you can clean it up yourself. Although this room is a little shabby, it would be nice to tidy it up. Zhu Young comforted her casually, and then mentioned his own needs. Come here and help me take care of Tommy first. He has to change diapers several times a day, and I have torn off several pieces of clothing, and now there is not enough. Please help me wash the diaper I changed. Although Sunuangsi was a little dissatisfied, it was much better here than down there, where a group of people were crowded into a room. She followed Zhu Yunk over and washed Thomas' diaper. When the result came, in order to get Zhu Yunk to get a room for her, she made a promise. But she didn't expect that the diapers she changed would pile up into a small mountain and were covered with baby excrement. Vomit. Sunuangsi retched, but in exchange for living in a single room, she had to endure nausea and wash these diapers by hand. Soon, it was time for lunch. 3 meals a day are prepared in the kitchen and then distributed to people on each floor. The food is also easy to prepare. They are all pre-made dishes. They only need to be heated up and served with a bowl of rice. This is why Zhang Yi doesn't eat with them. Zhang Yi and Zhao Kena got up relatively late, so they had breakfast and lunch together. During the meal, he went out to hang out and take a look at the situation on the ship. But there was a commotion in the cafeteria. Zhang Yi heard the woman's cry and Zhu Yunk's displeased argument. He frowned, knowing that it must be 2 women who were causing trouble again. Because except for them, no one else is allowed to eat on the upper floor. Zhang Yi walked over and took a look. It turned out that Zhu Yunk and Sunuangsi were arguing with the chef. Lao Shan was also explaining helplessly next to him. Zhu Yunk stared at the chef and asked, "Why can't we prepare an extra meal for her? Mr. Zhang has already agreed to let her live on the upper floor. Preparing an extra meal is just a matter of effort." The chef spread his hands helplessly. "Miss Zhu, you don't know how expensive firewood and rice are. The food the captain gives us is rationed per person, and it is very clear how much each person has to share. The food supply on the upper floor is only for 17 of us. If we give this Miss Su one portion of food, there won't be enough for everyone. How about you go find the captain to discuss it?" Zhang Yi was outside watching the excitement with his arms folded. At this time, he basically understood what happened. The food below is all a big pot of rice. After Sunuangsi came to the upper level, she would naturally not go back and eat those things again. Zhang Yi had a playful smile on his lips and was not in a hurry to go over. But soon she was discovered by Zhu Yunk. Zhu Yunk came over angrily and said to Zhang Yi, "Mr. Zhang, no matter what, I'm also one of the leaders of the rescue mission. Don't I even have the power to distribute food to my assistants? You have a fart." Zhang Yi complained in his heart. He didn't like Sunuangsi as a holy mother, but he was too lazy to waste time on such a trivial matter, so he said to the chef, "When I deliver meals to the people in the Yanliu group from now on, why don't I just serve hers out first and keep them?" Unexpectedly, the chef spread his hands and said, "That's what I said, but Miss Su disagrees." Zhang Yi was a little surprised. "Are you still not happy?" Sunuangsi's eyes were filled with tears, and she stared at Zhang Yi with a stubborn look on her face. "I'm also a young lady from an official family. Why should I be allowed to eat bad food? I want to eat the same thing as my senior sister." It turned out that when she and Zhu Yunk had dinner together, she saw that Zhu Yunk's food standards were too different from hers, and she immediately became unhappy. Because of such a trivial matter, a quarrel broke out in the kitchen, causing the crew members to not be able to eat. An impatient look flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. He ignored Sunuangsi and turned to look at Zhu Yunk. "You brought this person here. What do you think should be done about this matter?" Zhu Yunk frowned. She felt Zhang Yi's displeasure, but this time, she wasn't going to give in. Because Sunuangsi is hers, if she quits this time, what face will she have to talk about in the future? Chapter 821 Iron-039, I'm afraid I can. 039, T help it. Zhu Yunk's eyes stared at Zhang Yi's eyes without any retreat. She asked back, "Since you can bring your woman on board and let her enjoy the same treatment as you, then why can't I? So I ask Sunuangsi to have the same standard of living as me." Zhang Yi stared at her and was silent for at least 4 or 5 seconds. Suddenly he asked, "Are you in the rebellious stage?" "You, what do you mean? I'm just making a legitimate request." Zhang Yi didn't talk too much nonsense. "Well, I agree to your request." Zhu Yunk and Sunuangsi's eyes suddenly lit up. The two looked at each other and couldn't stop jumping for joy. Zhu Yang thought, no matter what, you still have to give me some face. Zhang Yi looked at the chef. From today on, we will lower Miss Zhu's food standards to the same standards as that of Sue. For a moment, everyone present was dumbfounded. All of them were burnt on the outside and tender on the inside by Zhang Yi's coquettish operation. Who is Zhu Yang? That is the niece of the supreme commander of Jiangnan region. Zhang Yi lowered her food standards just like that. Su Nuangxi was stunned. She originally thought that her cry had been answered and she could eat better food. In the future, more requests can be made through this opening. Who would have thought that Zhang Yi would lower Zhu Yang's food standards, which would make it difficult for her to make demands. Zhu Yang's eyes were as wide as copper bells. He pointed his right index finger at Zhang Yi and was speechless for a long time. It seems that you are also very satisfied with this decision and have acquiesced. Well, let's do this from today on. Zhang Yi winked at Lao Shan and the chef, then turned and left. There are all his people on the ship, and although they will take care of Zhu Yang's face, they must listen to Zhang Yi's words. They themselves don't like the crying and fussy Su Nuangxi, so this is just the right time. Zhang Yi had just left the kitchen when he heard a piercing cry. Zhu Yang really broke through his defense. She even forgot the agreement she made with Zhang Yi not to expose Zhang Yi's name outside. This approach made Zhang Yi frown. Zhang Yi, stop. What do you mean by doing this? Zhu Yang walked up to Zhang Yi regardless and stared at him angrily. Are you trying to trick me on purpose? Zhang Yi looked at her condescendingly without saying a word. But the disapproving laziness in his eyes had disappeared. A terrible majesty appeared. He has killed countless people in his hands, so when he doesn't deliberately pretend, that murderous intention will naturally be released. Zhu Yang was originally angry, but now it was as if a basin of cold water was poured over his head. He woke up for the most part in an instant, and the hairs on his back stood up. Why are you so cruel? It's obvious that you were the first to be unreasonable. Am I here to reason with you? Zhang Yi asked back. If you want to hear it, just listen. If you don't, just stay away. I'm not used to your eldest lady's temper. If I don't give your uncle face, do you think I want to embarrass you? You are so powerful, don't follow me from the beginning. Go to see by yourself. Zhang Yi looked at her with disgust. Zhang Yi's voice was neither loud nor quiet, but everyone could hear it. Zhu Yang's face suddenly turned red and warm. Zhang Yi's doing this was tantamount to slapping her in the face in front of everyone. Su Nuangxi was so frightened that she lowered her head and said nothing. Zhang Yi said coldly, don't let it happen again. If you do it again, I will lock you in the house and you will not be allowed to come out until you return to land. Zhu Yang knew what Zhang Yi was talking about. It is taboo to reveal his name outside. Fortunately, the people on Yanliu Island had little information and had never heard of his name as the killer god of Jiangnan. Otherwise, Zhang Yi didn't know what measures he would take to prevent the news of his going to sea from being exposed. It was my fault for calling you your name, but you are also at fault. Zhu Yang seemed a little frightened by Zhang Yi, and his tone became gentle. She began to try to explain her reasoning to Zhang Yi. You can bring Zhao on board. I asked an assistant to help me take care of the child, but you refused. Do you have any objections to me? Zhu Yang raised his neck stubbornly and asked unconvinced. Zhang Yi sneered and asked, so what if I just have a problem with you? Zhu Yang. Zhang Yi said unceremoniously, your uncle Zhu Zeng has no objection to who I take on board. Why do you get into so many troubles? You are menopausal. What do you think our relationship is? Why should I spoil you? Because you are Zhu Zeng's niece. Sorry, if you continue to delay my mission here, according to the regulations of the region, I can definitely decide what to do with you. Zhu Yang was frightened by Zhang Yi's momentum. She really wanted to complain to Zhu Zeng, saying that Zhang Yi bullied her. But thinking about it carefully, not only would Zhang Yi not lose anything by doing this, but it would actually make Zhu Zeng scold her. Zhu Zeng is not a person who dotes on his juniors. Going to him to report such a trivial matter would only make Zhu Zeng severely criticize her and teach her a lesson. Zhu Yang bit his lip and clenched his fists. He was afraid in his heart, but on the surface he refused to completely admit defeat. Haha, it turns out that your captain is just a guy who pretends to be a public servant for his own benefit. You just have a problem with me and SYNOPSIS, so you took the opportunity to retaliate against us. Even if you don't agree to my request, why are you teasing me in such a weird way? Do you think this is fun? Zhang Yi laughed angrily at her. Haha, you're doing it for personal gain? Do you think I'm very idle? The 8 people on the 3rd floor of the Jinfeng, 140, are carried on my shoulders. He asked, do you think these people on the boat are so obedient? They will not be grateful, because we rescued them. Even if they have such thoughts for a short time, they will later take it for granted that the official sent to rescue them of. Then they start to pick and choose, and then they ask for more benefits. Today you opened an opening here, allowing the little girl named Sue to live in the upper cabin, and giving her generous living conditions. So what's the next step? Do we have to take care of her other needs, and have everything be according to your standards? Can other people not have any thoughts when they see this? I don't care about others, just Li Zhang Yi and his wife. They are the main rescue targets of our operation. They have been living in the middle floor. What if they make demands too? What if they cause trouble? Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. I'm scared of that outcome, do you understand? After Zhang Yi's explanation, Zhu Yang slowly realized the seriousness of the problem. Do not suffer from widowhood, but suffer from inequity. It may not show up at first, but injustice will lead to big problems over time. I didn't think about it that much. I just wanted to find myself a companion. I didn't want to cause you any trouble. Zhang Yi sneered. It's not easy, you can understand. Otherwise, I'm really afraid of chaos on this ship. Afraid? Zhu Yang looked at Zhang Yi in surprise. Are you also afraid? He is the famous god of war. After the battle between Eclipse and Samsara team, he became the hero of the entire Blizzard City, and his reputation once surpassed that of Deng Shentang and Gao Changkang. Will he be afraid too? Zhang Yi nodded. There was a hint of coldness in his eyes. I'm afraid that killing so many people will stain my ship. It will be troublesome to clean up then. He looked at Zhu Yang, his voice without any emotion. I'm very picky about my living environment. If the smell of blood is too strong, it will affect my sleep quality. Zhu Yang suddenly felt terrified. From Zhang Yi's eyes, she saw that Zhang Yi was not joking. If the people on the ship make him feel trouble, he will kill them without mercy. Chapter 822 Thanksgiving. Zhang Yi persuaded Zhu Yang and made her understand how much trouble her behavior might cause. Although she was a little dissatisfied with Zhang Yi's attitude, she was not completely brainless and stupid. After all, she was born in such a family, so she still had some insight. So she said, okay then, let SYNOPSIS have dinner with the crew. She will not be treated specially in the future. Zhang Yi smiled and said, how can that be done? He looked solemn, pointed at Zhu Yang and said, she is not qualified to eat crew meals. Just go back down there when you eat from now on. Of course, if you don't mind eating less, you can give some of it to her. But as punishment, within a week, your food supply must be in accordance with the standards of the Yanliu group. Zhang Yi is not that easy to talk to, except to people in his own family. When it comes to outsiders, he doesn't take hard or soft words. But Zhu Yang's attitude can't be changed unless he gives in. Zhu Yang said angrily, okay, just do as you say, right? What she was angry about was not Zhang Yi's behavior, but his attitude towards her. If this continues, the task assigned to her by Zhu Zeng may be far away. She was also very melancholy in her heart. Why was it so difficult for her to win over a warehouse manager with her charm? Zhu Yang returned to the cabin, and SYNOPSIS was still expecting her to fight for some legitimate rights for herself. However, Zhu Yang told her Zhang Yi's decision. This is an extraordinary moment, please bear with me for a while. After we get ashore, I can take you to the Jiangnan region headquarters and arrange a decent job for you. Zhu Yang said calmly. SYNOPSIS' expression changed. Zhu Yang raised his eyebrows. Why, are you not satisfied? SYNOPSIS quickly shook her head and said, how could it be? Everyone knows that you are the best senior. I'm really sorry for causing you trouble this time. She looked aggrieved. After all, I didn't expect that the man named Zhang would be so disrespectful to you. Anyway, you are also the niece of the supreme commander of the Jiangnan region. And he is just the next officer below. Su Nuance's eyes flashed with contempt. Humph, no matter how big or small, how dare you be so disrespectful to you. I don't think he will ever think about rising up in the future. She thought the outside world was the same as before. Zhu Yang said helplessly, the world outside has changed a long time ago, and many things are different from the past, including the set of rules you know. Su Nuance asked doubtfully, no matter how things change, shouldn't subordinates do their best to please their leaders and their families? In the Huaxu Kingdom's system, the top leader has always had absolute power. This cannot be changed. Zhu Yang didn't know how to explain it to her. After all, these people in the Yanliu group have been isolated from the world for too long. They still don't know what the existence of a top alien means in the outside world. In some small countries, people of Zhang Yi's level are like gods. Even the top leaders of the 6 major regions have to work hard to win over. This can be seen from Zhu Zheng's attitude towards Zhang Yi being more polite than his own son. Anyway, just listen to me. Stay with me, and help me take care of Tommy. I won't let you be wronged. Su Nuance put on a smile and said, good sister, I don't have anything to feel wronged about. I'm just complaining on your behalf, because I'm afraid you'll be bullied. They were all in the circle, and Zhu Yang could naturally see Su Nuance's little tricks of fanning the flames. But there are some truths. Even if you understand them in your heart, you may not be able to understand them. In Zhu Yang's heart, the dissatisfaction with Zhang Yi still existed, and it was still expanding. In the blink of an eye, a week has passed since I left Ganliu Island. The order on the Jimpfeng was relatively stable, and there were no conflicts. Zhang Yi would either practice calligraphy with Zhao Keller in his room every day, or observe order in the cabin, to avoid any restless behavior by the people below. Among them, the vast majority of people can be content with the status quo, and are satisfied with their current state of being full and warm. However, there are always some people who have evil intentions. The room on the Yanliu group's side is an 8-person room with 4 standard bunk beds and a small dining table in the middle. Li Zhangyi and his wife naturally have special treatment. They can live in a separate room. But others are not treated so well. When it was time to eat at noon that day, the chef Zi Changming came over, opened the middle hatch, and shouted, a few people are here to make dinner. Someone came immediately from each room to collect the meals. The food standard for the middle class is pretty good. At least they can get some protein supplement every day, and they can also eat a relatively hearty meat meal every 3 days. They usually eat canned soy products and rice noodles. Zi Changming's attitude towards them was lukewarm, a bit like a pig herder. Cha He-sung, a former Silla official, walked over with a smile on his face and a look on his face to please. Thank you for your gift. We are extremely grateful to you in our hearts. Every time he came to receive food, he would praise Zi Changming, and he was already very familiar with flattering him. When Zi Changming saw She Haicheng, a rare smile appeared on his face. I've taken care of the allocation of your room, so you have to be grateful. When She Haicheng heard this, his expression changed slightly, and then his smile became brighter. He bowed 90 degrees, yes, your great kindness will be unforgettable. Zi Changming put down the spoon in his hand, and followed him towards the middle cabin. The other crew members who were eating next to him just smiled jokingly when they saw this. After arriving at the middle cabin, Cha Haicheng walked to the door of their room, and happened to meet his wife Kim Kim. Cha He-sung, who once served as a senior official in Silla, was extremely powerful and wealthy, and the women around him have always been the best. Kim Kim is his 9th wife. She is 32 years old and a former member of Silla's top girl group. Although she had experienced life on Yanliu Island for half a year, she felt quite haggard and had dark circles under her eyes. But these still can't conceal her charm, especially her beautiful figure, which can easily make people think. Zi Changming leaned against the hatch and whistled at her. Cha He-sung quickly winked at Kim Kim. Jin Kim understood, walked over with a flattering smile, took Zi Changming's arm skillfully, and then the two went to Zi Changming's bedroom. And every time after it ends, she can get generous rewards from Zi Changming. Not only did Cha-Hae-cheng have no complaints about this, he even got extra food for taking advantage of his wife. His status in the room has become higher, and he has become a small leader who specializes in receiving and distributing food. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 823 All Talents. As soon as Cha-Hae-cheng entered the door, everyone in the room looked at him with a smile. Zi Yunfen, a Colombian Chinese wearing cracked gold-rimmed glasses and a large group executive, smiled and said, Cha-Hae-cheng, did you ask your wife to accompany that cook again? Cha-Hae-cheng smiled disapprovingly. He raised his eyebrows and even had a proud look on his face. Just be envious. Zi Yunfen snorted coldly, I don't have such a stupid interest. Cha-Hae-cheng laughed, put the food on the table, and then assigned meals to everyone's lunch boxes. In the room, Li Yunansheng, a Mediterranean uncle in his 50s, smiled and said, I admire Mr. She's mentality very much. Only by being able to bend and stretch can a man achieve a great career. Zi Yunfen frowned, disgusted with what the two said. He picked up his rice bowl, but how is this different from a pig or a dog? Selling a woman's appearance in exchange for benefits is really disgusting. Cha-Hae-cheng laughed and looked at him teasingly. This is not like the words of someone who used his pornography to seduce a rich woman from Colombia and then made a fortune by dividing the family property through a fraudulent marriage. Zi Yunfen's expression changed. Nonsense. How can that be called cheating? It's a matter of scholars, and it's a strategy, so it's a strategy. The whole room was suddenly filled with cheerful laughter. Everyone came over to receive the food one after another, and sarcasm and taunting each other became their daily way of having fun. Hey, Mr. Shen, since you are so generous, why don't you help your fellow refugees? A man with a brown beard came over and said to Cha-Hae-cheng with a smile. His name is Rudolph, from southern Prussia. Although he looks a bit rough, he has a pair of very delicate hands. Cha-Hae-cheng didn't feel dissatisfied at all, but instead said with a bad smile, then it depends on what price you can pay. Rudolph rummaged his hand into his pocket and immediately took out a gold Rolex watch. Cha-Hae-cheng shook his head. This thing is meaningless to me. You have to give me something really good. Rudolph said bitterly, hell, as a professional pickpocket, I only steal valuable property. But now they are all useless garbage. He angrily threw the gold watch to the ground, then stepped on it, crushing the glass. Cha-Hae-cheng looked contemptuous. Kim Kami is my important material now, and I have to rely on her to please the men on the ship. Don't even think about touching her, you guy. Hey, you guys are so boring. After all, we share the same sorrow. Before, we only needed a bird's leg to spend the whole night. Two people were noisy, but one person was extraordinarily quiet. A Western man with long curly hair and a big beard and a somewhat melancholy expression walked over, silently picked up the broken watch, and studied his dial carefully. And against the wall, Li Zhang-Yi's colleague, a Colombian named Bamo, leaned against the porthole, staring blankly at the ice sea that looked like a huge stagnant water. Why don't they respond to me? I don't want to go to a foreign country. Talisa, is she still waiting for me in her hometown? Are she and the child okay? Bamo thought of his wife and daughter who were far away in another direction across the ocean. They are his biggest belief that he persists in living till now. In half a year, he asked Colombia for help countless times. Use every avenue he can find, whether it's Colombia itself, or the Colombian Ocean Force stationed on Rupperfly Island. However, these requests for help were like silence, with no news at all. After waiting for half a year, I didn't expect that the rescue ship from Huaxu Kingdom was waiting for me. If he really sets foot on that land, he will come to this planet, the farthest place from his hometown. In such an apocalyptic world, he didn't know if he would have the chance to return to his hometown. Hey, Bamo, what are you worried about? Rudolph and Cha-Hae-cheng argued for a long time, but neither got what they wanted. He had no choice but to come over and chat with the melancholy young man Bamo. BMO glanced at him and said melancholy, I'm wondering, will we still have a chance to return to our hometown? This statement caused some people in the room to think deeply. Eisenman turned his head and looked at him deeply, but said nothing. But Rudolph shrugged indifferently. No matter where I go, as long as there are girls and good wine, I'm fine with that. Zhi Yunfen leaned against the wall, frowning. But I don't like being in that country. She Haicheng glanced at him and said, Zhi, didn't you grow up in that country? Zhi Yunfen sat up straight with some displeasure, stared at him and said, that doesn't matter. The thing is, I'm a Colombian citizen now. She Haicheng sneered disdainfully. If even BMO, a serious Colombian citizen, can't be rescued, you should have died long ago, right? You seem to be more loyal than the native people. But it's a pity that at this time, no matter where you are at the bottom. So don't have any unnecessary illusions. Zhi Yunfen was said to be like a rooster with fried feathers. He was anxious then, argued, what do you know? He hesitated, saying words like freedom and power. The room was filled with joyful laughter. But without Zhi Yunfen around, they managed to get by just the same. She Haicheng took out an egg from his pocket, smiled, then quickly peeled it open, and tasted it slowly. Naturally, other people do not receive this kind of treatment. And some people deliberately make disdainful sounds, but in fact they are very envious in their hearts. But they don't have a beautiful wife like She Haicheng who can give them food in exchange. So they have to use this method to act as if they are upright. After a while, Kim came back from the cabin above. She Haicheng rushed up to meet her, looked at the others carefully, and asked her, how is it? What good things did I give you this time? Jin Kimui smiled proudly, then took out a diamond ring the size of a pigeon egg from her pocket, and showed it to him happily. Look. The diamond ring. It's such a big diamond ring. She Haicheng's eyes widened quickly, and he froze on the spot. Forehead. Are you kidding me? He said with a smile on his skin. Jin Kimi curled her lips, admiring her big diamond ring with satisfaction, and said casually, are I kidding you? The diamond ring they gave me is so big, you have never bought me such a big one. She Haicheng became anxious, and lowered his voice and shouted, you stupid woman. It's now like this. Diamonds are worth less than dirt. You want it to be of no use. Chapter 824 Dragon. She Haicheng became angry and scolded Jin Kimi severely. Jin Kimi was also very angry. Hey, what are you talking about? This diamond is very expensive, right? She didn't understand why She Haicheng was so crazy. Such a big and beautiful diamond can be obtained by just accompanying Zhi Changming once. She is crazy happy. She Haicheng took a deep breath and then closed his eyes tightly. He thought silently in his heart, don't be angry, don't be angry. She is a stupid woman with only money in her eyes. After calming down for a long time, he stared at Jin Kimi, pointed at her nose and said, next time, ask me for supplies. Sugar, milk, cigarettes, eggs, are all fine. Just don't ask me for these useless things, jewelry. After the end of the world, these things have become useless. Only a vain woman like Kim Kimi would like it. Jin Kimi tightened her clothes in fear. Understood. The fear of She Haicheng has been deeply imprinted in her bones. At least now, she hasn't thought about resisting. The upper deck of the cabin. Zhang Yi suddenly felt a sign of being spied on. It was night now. He looked outside through the window. It was dark, and he could not see anything. There is nothing but endless darkness on the sea. The cold moonlight was blurry and invisible. Through the thick clouds, only after images were left, making it even harder to reflect the sea. Zhang Yi frowned. Since he awakened to the ability of time echo, his intuition has become sharper and sharper, especially the insight into danger. This awareness made him vaguely feel that there was something dangerous in the sea, spying on them. Is it the sea monster I injured? Zhang Yi named the sea monster, Fin Dragon, because its back is covered with dorsal fins that are larger than those of sharks. It could also be psychological. Zhang Yi thought for a while and decided to get up and go to the control room to take a look. He opened the door and quickly came outside, walking along the corridor to the control room of the Jinfeng. Have you found anything unusual? Zhang Yi asked. The control room is manned 24 hours a day. Lao Shan was also there at this time. After hearing this, he quickly came to the radar. he said to Zhang Yi. No unusual ships or creatures were found nearby. It's just that half an hour ago, a few sharks passed nearby. Zhang Yi immediately asked, "Shark? Is it big?" Lao Shan said, "According to the radar, they are just ordinary sharks more than 5 meters long. As long as a giant creature like a fin dragon appears in the surrounding waters, it will be detected by radar." "What's the approximate detection range?" Zhang Yi asked. Lao Shan replied, "Underwater, a 200-meter range can detect biological movements within 10 nautical miles. If it is a ship on the water, as long as it is not a military ship loaded with stealth functions, it can be detected within 50 nautical miles." Zhang Yi smiled and shook his head. "If it really appears in this area of water, it probably won't be a civilian ship. Okay, we have to be more careful on the way back. We will send an extra man on duty at night." Lao Shan said, "Yes." Zhang Yi turned around and was about to leave, but Lao Shan called out to him, "Mr. Zhang, I have one more thing to report to you." Zhang Yi glanced at him and said, "What's the matter? Just tell me." Lao Shan said, "That's Lao Zi over there in the kitchen." Lao Shan told Zhang Yi in detail. It turned out that the number of people on the ship increased, and more than 100 people were eating, but only Lao Zi was busy. Although most of the food is prepared and only needs to be heated before consumption, but it still needs to be processed, and the workload is very heavy. In recent days, Lao Zi's health has begun to become a little worse. Today, he came to find Lao Shan, saying that he had back pain, and hoping to get him a helper. However, the number of crew members is limited. Everyone has their own work, and no one can spare their time. That's why Lao Shan told Zhang Yi that he hoped to find someone from the middle and lower cabins to help. They open their mouths every day and only know how to eat. It's time to let them participate in labor. Cook and eat by yourself. Zhang Yi looked at Lao Shan playfully and said with a smile, "How did his health deteriorate? Do you really think I don't know?" As soon as these words came out, everyone in the control room couldn't help laughing. Monitoring equipment is installed everywhere on the ship, and Zhang Yi will check it frequently to avoid potential safety hazards. Except for the bathroom and bedroom, which he did not monitor due to ZHU Young's strong request. He basically knew what happened in other places. These crew members on the ship have been at sea for too long and naturally have their needs. Among the passengers who boarded the ship, there were many women who volunteered to exchange themselves for supplies. Zhang Yi also understood them, so he did not prohibit this matter. Lao Shan smiled and said, "I made you laugh. If you let them cook, can food safety be guaranteed? You must consider this. If someone tries to do something, he could poison the whole boat if he's not careful." Zhang Yi is very cautious. He brought his own food and drinking water and did not share it with others. So even if something goes wrong, it's someone else on the boat. However, as the captain, he still had to remind Lao Shan. Lao Shan nodded and said seriously, "I will let Lao Zi supervise them carefully. Moreover, even if you want to poison, you must have raw materials, right? Toxins are not so easy to obtain." The people who boarded the ship were all checked and found to have no weapons or unusual drugs on them. After living on the island for more than half a year, they were so poor that they had almost nothing left but their underpants. Zhang Yi also understood Lao Zi's difficulty, nodded and said, "You can arrange this matter yourself and find a few trustworthy people." Lao Shan smiled and said, "Yes." Zhang Yi left the control room and came to the deck. The Jinfeng advanced slowly on the ice sea. In order to meet the deadline and avoid accidents on the ocean, the ship traveled day and night. Just a slight undulation in the icy ocean can trigger waves that are huge in human eyes, causing the ship to rock up and down. This can easily create fear in people, fearing that a huge wave will capsize the boat. Zhang Yi walked on the rickety deck, as if walking on flat ground, and his grasp of the power of space had become increasingly proficient. Ugh! Suddenly, there was a distant whistling in my ears. Zhang Yi frowned and quickly looked in the direction of the sound. The night wind was blowing hard, and I didn't know if the sound was a sea breeze or some mysterious sea beast. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly. "Is that guy following you?" Zhang Yi witnessed the power of that huge finned dragon with his own eyes. It was extremely powerful. If he were on land and encountered that kind of monster, Zhang Yi would not be afraid. He has a clear understanding of his own power. However, this is the sea, not human territory. If it accidentally destroys the Jinfeng, everyone on the ship, except Zhang Yi and Zhao Ke may die. This is not the result Zhang Yi wants to see. Chapter 825 Liu Zhengnan, +1. In the following time, Zhang Yi strengthened the alert of the entire ship. His focus was on the vast sea of ice. Because he always had a hunch that the sea monster that he had seriously injured, the fin dragon, would not let them go easily. Every creature is vengeful, especially powerful creatures. The Finnosaurus must be hiding somewhere in the depths of the ocean, waiting for an opportunity to attack them. The reason why it stood still at this time was because it was afraid of Zhang Yi's strength and did not dare to have a direct conflict. However, if anything happens to the Jinfeng on the sea, or if something unusual happens to Zhang Yi, it might jump out of the meter-deep sea. With its extremely large size and amazing strength, it only takes one strike to overturn the Golden Edge. By then, all the more than 100 people on the ship, except Zhang Yi and Zhao Ke, would be dead. Zhang Yi has no better way to do this. The ship's armament lacked heavy firearms. There are only some depth charges and shipborne cannons. But it is obviously too difficult for these things to cause serious damage to such a giant beast. Although there are heavy artillery in his alien space, it is extremely difficult for land artillery to function on the ship. After all, in the vast ocean, it is troublesome to stabilize a land gun, let alone shoot with huge recoil. However, Zhang Yi and the others are not at an absolute disadvantage. Zhang Yi's own existence and the advanced radar system are the best means of defense. As long as the fin dragon comes close to a certain range, it will be discovered by people on the boat. Zhang Yi can take precautions in advance. Now, Zhang Yi, whose supernatural power index has reached 9600 points, can still protect himself, even if he really encounters an early level Epsilon level alien. Not to mention just encountering a sea monster with a power index of 9000. If it weren't for the sea, he could easily kill the sea monster. Unfortunately, Zhang Yi's biggest shortcoming is currently being unable to dive. Speed up. I hope there won't be any problems on the way back. Zhang Yi prayed secretly in his heart. On the other side, after Chef Zi Changming received Zhang Yi's permission, he went to the cabin below to select his assistant. Finally, he found a good helper, Liu Zhengnan from the Yanliu group. Liu Zhengnan claimed to be a chef. After Zi Changming's test, he found that he was indeed good at cooking. According to the people from the Yanliu group, he was responsible for cooking for the team when they were on the island. In addition, Liu Zhengnan spoke well and was very good at pleasing Zi Changming and other crew members, so he quickly became close to the people on the ship. Zhang Yi has been keeping an eye on what's going on in the ice sea these days, watching out for the appearance of fin dragons or other mutated sea monsters. Fortunately, others had learned the lesson before and no longer dared to come over and cause trouble for him. Zhu Young kept a much lower profile, but would still come over occasionally to deliberately get closer to Zhang Yi. But Zhang Yi never liked such a self-righteous young lady, so he just dealt with it coldly. This gave Zhu Young a headache. However, the little follower Sunu Anxi next to her has always had a bad attitude towards Zhang Yi. She didn't dare to say anything bad, but the look in Zhang Yi's eyes felt very wrong. She probably thought that, since she was the daughter of a high-ranking official, she looked down upon Zhang Yi, the leader of the rescue team. Zhang Yi was too lazy to mess with her. As long as others didn't come to seek death, he had no time to waste time with them. Ensuring the completion of the rescue mission is his biggest concern at the moment. He also had several contacts with Zhu Zheng. As long as their ship arrives near the waters of Huaxu Kingdom, warships will come to greet them. This morning, the crew in the control room was still carefully controlling the ship's movement and carefully scanning the surroundings through radar. The kitchen is already busy. Zi Changming was sitting very leisurely on the sofa chair, smoking black box Huangshan in his mouth, and playing cards with several crew members. This cigarette is very precious. Of course, he didn't get it himself, but it was given to him by Zhang Yi. On the ship, except that no alcohol was allowed, food, cigarettes, and even isolation bags for children and grandchildren were thoughtfully prepared for them by Zhang Yi. This is to prevent the crew from developing psychological problems during the long voyage and affecting the execution of the mission. So now, every crew member is loyal to Zhang Yi from the bottom of their hearts, not only out of fear of his strength, but also out of love for this good captain who is considerate of his subordinates. As for the work in the kitchen, it naturally fell on Liu Zhengnan alone. It is not easy to prepare meals for more than 100 people. Fortunately, the main busy part is steaming rice and eating pre-made dishes. The rest is much easier. Liu Zhengnan is in his 50s and is a short Mediterranean man. I was so exhausted from working that I was sweating profusely, but I didn't dare to slack off at all. Zi Changming played a 2 and then dusted off his cigarette. On the wrist is a golden Patek Philippe worth millions. This watch was given by Liu Zhengnan as a tribute to him. Old Liu, you don't look like someone who endures hardships. I didn't expect you to be quite good at cooking. Zi Changming won a dozen cigarettes today and was in a good mood. Looking at Liu Zhengnan who was busy, he casually chatted with him for a few words. Liu Zhengnan wiped the sweat from his forehead, nodded and said, "Our family has always dared to do catering. Of course we have to be familiar with these tasks. Otherwise, how will we manage it?" Zi Changming and other crew members naturally knew that the people on Yanliu Island, especially the Huaxu nationals or overseas Chinese, had unusual identities. At the very least, it has to be middle class. Zi Changming teased, "Looking at your delicate skin and tender flesh, you should be a big boss." Liu Zhengnan skillfully opened the steamer, tore open a bag of prepared vegetables, and poured them onto the plate. What a big boss. He just owns a few restaurants at home and just makes ends meet. "Thank you. If you have any orders, just call me." "You're welcome." Zi Changming smiled, and several crew members also showed disapproving smiles. Of course they would not be polite to Liu Zhengnan. These people on the ship were all rescued by them. According to Zhang Yi, except for Li Zhangyu and his wife, everyone else will be sent to various bases in Xianhai City as laborers in the future. So you don't have to be polite at all to use it. At this time, Zhang Yi was wandering on the deck and walked over to take a look after smelling the aroma of the food. Upon seeing this, several crew members quickly dropped their cards and stood up. "Mr. Zhang." Zhang Yi smiled and said, "I'm in a good mood. It's okay. You can continue playing. I just smelled the fragrance and came over to take a look. Don't tell me, the aroma of this pre-prepared dish is quite strong. I'm even greedy when I smell it." Zhang Yi didn't come to the kitchen very often, so he walked in and took a quick look. The steam inside was steaming, and it was quite warm. Liu Zhengnan hurriedly came over, wiping his hands with his apron, while nodding and bending to please Zhang Yi. "Hello, Mr. Zhang. Is there anything you want to eat? Just ask, I will arrange it for you right away." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.